Humble
Well,
beginnings.
the thing is that with Twitch though is having someone else share you out. Like MP Real Goddess, she shares out the Twitch, and she also shares out the YouTube stuff. It's like when she shows up in my live chat, I post a link to her Twitch. I told her like I really don't care about the Twitch because I'm not gonna not for Twitch. We're there for YouTube. YouTube is much more useful to the fact that we can have backlog where Twitch erases your videos after a while.
Yeah.
That's what sucks about that. Twitch is
Twitch is
like in
really
and out.
Twitch is really for
Yeah,
live streaming, which is what we're
yeah.
Yeah.
doing right now. Welcome, folks, to
Cool
another
open.
episodes of Late Night
I won't do a
Comics.
cold. I won't do a cold open if you're looking for it.
You weren't looking for us. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I have my phone
Gotcha.
open right now. I'm always looking.
Gotcha again. It's Late Night Comics episode 45, featuring the boys RDV and the newest member Zach. We're happy to have, and
Our,
myself. I'm Ash. They named the channel after me, and
we like Zach. He's kind of like our golden retriever or our golden lab. You just hide the tennis ball, and he's always like, "Where's the tennis ball? Where's the tennis ball?" And then you throw it, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, cool."
yeah, you are kind of like a golden
Labs.
retriever. That's a good pick.
Golden
Yeah.
retrievers are great dogs. They
They
have
are,
health
man.
problems,
I
but
love
they're great
golden
dogs.
retrievers. Maybe that's why I like
Golden,
you.
yeah.
What kind of dog? That's a good thing. So, what kind of dog is RDV?
A Chihuahua.
No.
Wow. Oh, I feel like I'm more like
He
a
yips
Jack.
so much, it's like you can't get words in it when he starts yipping.
He's like
More like a
he's
Jack
like an old
Jack Russell.
basset hound.
Mm,
No, that's you, Ash.
And he won't shut up. He's
Breen.
just like
Eric Breen is like a basset hound.
Oh, I feel
I
like
mean
I'm
that in
more.
a good way.
I feel like I'm more like a Jack Russell Terrier. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see you being like a terrier. Oh, I mean, it's not just Jack Russells. All kinds of terriers have that, like hyper energy. I mean, golden retrievers have that too. They
So
just
the
have so much
labs.
energy. Labs, Dalmatians, Beagles. I couldn't have any of those dogs. I don't have that much energy.
Yeah,
I'd be
I
more
could
like
see
a
RDV
cat
as a
though.
beagle. Yeah, beagle.
See, I wouldn't even be a dog. I'd be a cat, and I just tell you guys to piss off.
Actually, no, I can see you being a beagle when you were doing like all those outdoor videos. Like, because beagles are hunting dogs. So yeah, I could see that.
Welcome to Backdoor. Was that Backyard moments?
Did you really say it like that?
And one of them was like, "Welcome back to Backyard Moments."
Blah blah blah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. What are we even
Backyard
doing here?
Moments was fun.
What are we even doing here? That's what
I have no
I don't
idea.
know. Can I go home?
You are home. We're doing Late Night Comics. This is the weekly episode when we decide to show up and do it, which is most weeks. Sometimes we fail, but where we talk about comics, and it's really a very kind of unorthodox, unscripted show. You may be listening and going, "Who are these guys?" We don't know. We're just three guys that like each other somewhat. We like
Depends
comics.
on the day.
Sometimes, and we get a little cranky. I get cranky about comics mostly, and we like other things too. It's not just the show's Late Night Comics because it's kind of that's the anchor of it. But sometimes we're talking about other things that comic people like movies, food, occasionally toys. I don't even talked about toys in a long time. Um,
We're,
I
we're,
don't
just,
toys. Yeah.
we're just two millennials and a Gen X.
yeah, there we go. Two
I
millennials
guess
and a Gen X.
I am a millennial.
You
I feel
are.
old.
But I'd rather be a millennial than be a Zoomer.
Dude, you feel old?
I
You
don't
should
know,
be
man.
if
Some Zoomers have it together.
you should
I'm fine with
be
that.
if you only understood what it feels like to be a Gen X and hearing a millennial say they feel old. That's
I
they,
remember when dial-up was the newest thing.
Oh, I
AOL
remember
Online.
those days. I
Yeah.
remember AOL. You couldn't be on
dude,
the internet because your parents were expecting a phone call.
I remember
Yeah.
BBSs.
Okay, yeah, you got me beat. I don't know what a BDS
You
is.
don't even know what a
Backstreet Boys?
BBS is. Bulletin board system. Before the days of the internet, you had local online systems called bulletin boards that you could dial into, and each one had its own number, and there would be like chat groups and things like that. It was very like limited by today's standards, but it was like the coolest thing. You could log in and you know people like some of the famous ones that were popular were people like distributing software like games and pirated sites and things like that. But it was all kind
Oh,
of
it was open source kind of.
um it wasn't necessarily open source, but you just kind of like each bulletin board system was its own thing, and you dialed into it rather than
Okay.
it's like would be the equivalent of like you going to someone's house would be a bulletin board system versus you going to like a public place like a public park, which is like the internet. You know, it's just open. Everyone can kind of come there.
Yeah. Somebody has their own domain, and you log into that domain.
Yeah, you had to like
Kind
you
of
had to
like,
dial
kind
in.
of like what it's kind of like what forums are today, right? You know, like everybody has their own
Kinda.
bulletin board system on the World Wide Web. Like you can still find, and people would share stuff on that as a hub, almost in a sense.
Yeah, kind of, but those forums are still connected to the internet. The bulletin board systems were
Yeah.
like
Yes.
direct. It was like a
Local.
phone call.
Yeah.
Like your
Yeah.
computer called that computer, and then you had access to that limited system only.
Sounds like a lot of Trojan viruses.
No, not really. Viruses seem to be really spread when the internet became more prolific because you could launch stuff, you know, to millions of users. A BBS, you might only have like 50 people on it. Like, you know, there's no
So
like the
basically,
point.
it's the party line for computers.
It's, yeah, I mean, viruses. You weren't likely to catch something because there was no real point to try to infect these small groups, but really for the most part were unknown because it was only the really like nerdy geeky people that even
Were you
participated
one
in
of the
this stuff.
You were one of the nerdy geeky guys.
Yes.
The
Though I
pocket
was
protector.
I was
Hey
not.
guys.
No, I wasn't like that. But I was very low key compared to some. Like my knowledge of BBS systems was very much on the periphery. There's people that were way more into it than me. But we're not here to talk about those.
My favorite is when you get the nerds that are very snobbish nerds. It's like, dude, you're a nerd. Shut up. It's not
Snobbish.
correct, you know. This is this. And it's like, shut up.
What's weird from my perspective is how geek culture sort of became mainstream culture. And I
Yeah,
think that's what
I
your generation is
thank you
seeing.
for that.
basically, geek culture is like Revenge of the Nerds. Once Lewis became popular, he became a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of that was like a very prophetic. Good point. And
Yeah. Very Simpsons.
yeah, the Simpsons, man. Oh my goodness. Who's even in here? I saw Tehillim say hello. Shalom and good to see you all, says Tehillim.
I'm watching. I think you're watching. Zach's watching, and I'm watching.
Oh, nice. Show's getting more popular than ever. It's weird that my subscriber count goes up, but my viewer base goes down.
It's all right. As for earlier, though, you popped in on I Love Comics. We're doing the little thing there. I had mentioned this is something we do on Ashland Comics, so I give you plugs when I do stuff like that.
Wait a
Making you,
did you mention it before I said anything?
yeah, before. You can go back and watch it.
Oh, okay. Oh, very good. Appreciate that.
Because we never have time to do anything like that, because we're usually running on, we do our half an hour thing here, and then we do our books or 2 books, and then it kind of, we always run out towards the end, you know?
Right.
So that's why I was like, he was kind of like last minute, like he was like, Onion was killing him. He bowed out, and I figured like, what's wrong with, I figured like, let's talk about comic books, you know, something that you should do on a channel.
You should talk about comics sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
So that's why I did that. I was like, I told Dominic after we're done, I was like, dude, Dominic, this is the most I've ever heard you talk. Dominic will join a live stream over there, and he'll sit there for 45 minutes and not say a word. And so I was like, dude, Dominic, that's your night. It's your time to shine. He's gone. I'm gonna let you talk. And Dominic is very very intellectual. You wouldn't know it because he never talks, and when he does, he gets cut off. But I mean, like I said, I love having Dominic on a channel. Unlike Zach,
I can sympathize with getting cut off.
Zach, we could cut you off in one piece because you're an addict. So time I'll cut you off.
Speaking of Zach, it's good to have you here, my friend.
Oh.
Yeah, good to be here. This is one of my favorite streams of the week.
I got a new experimental feature I was thinking about introducing to the show, where
Oh, okay.
where
Wait a minute.
what we do is we go through Zach's Twitter feed and we see what he's talking about.
Zach, you sounded very much like Commander Shepard. This is my Zach. This is my favorite channel on the YouTube.
So no, actually Zach had posted this on Twitter, it caught my eye, and I thought it was kind of a
Oh, is that
really
the one that you
cool.
responded to?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I thought this would be a kind of a cool thing to talk about before we get into the comic book. And you were responding to a tweet someone else posted, said, "What movie deserves a sequel, but they haven't
the
made
Jedi.
it so far?" Now Zach responded with Return of the Jedi, in a form of GIF, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun maybe to talk a little bit about. I guess Zach already made his post, but he can have a second movie if he wants. And anyone in the audience that's listening that wants to put in their thoughts. I thought this was really cool. Like I was really found myself thinking about this and going, "Oh, what would be a cool movie?" Does anything?
It's a very choppy GIF.
Well, so it was kind of partially facetious because I was kind of also like putting a jab in at Disney.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean no. Well, I already did mine, so I'll let somebody else go ahead with their answer first.
When we
Well,
deserve a sequel.
it doesn't even have to
Yeah.
be like you have one pick. I thought this would be just good, just in general, like what movies out there. The one you responded to is one of my first choices. Actually, the guy who posted, he put Alita, Battle Angel.
Oh yeah, I thought. Well, that one is getting a sequel. I thought.
I've been hearing rumors, but nothing
Whenever the
substantiated.
writer's strike will finally end.
Yeah, the writer's strike's messing everything up. But this movie is one of those ones, like every time I watch it, it gets better. When I first saw it, I was like, this isn't as good as I hoped it would be, but it was fine. I was like, okay with it. And then like the more I saw it, I was like, no, I'm really liking this. Then I read the manga, and I really liked the manga, which helped. Like after reading the manga, going back and watching it also kind of helped me appreciate. What's this actress's name?
I don't know. I think this might be like her biggest role.
Yeah.
I know it's got Christoph Waltz in it, but I can never remember the main actress.
I can't either. But it really made me respect her performance in this movie.
Yeah.
So movies that never got a sequel.
Movies.
Bride.
Well, it's not necessarily movies that didn't get a sequel. It's movies that deserve a sequel.
Yeah, I would say Robin Hood Men in Tights would have been fun to have a sequel to that.
Really?
Did he ever get the chassis device off?
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
I don't. Mel Brooks has never done a sequel to any of his movies, has he?
No,
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, well, no, take it back. History of the World Part 2's coming out.
Oh, that's right. There was History of the World Part 2. I didn't see.
No. He hasn't done History of the World Part 2.
It's supposed to be coming out. It's not. It's his son directing it though.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not him though. That's not him doing a sequel.
But it's still a sequel to his franchise movies of.
If it comes out, but that has been a sequel in the making potentially for a long time. If anyone who's ever seen History of the World Part 1, at the end of the movie they do these like fake trailers for History of the World Part 2, and they're pretty hilarious, I thought. But we never actually got a History of the World Part 2, so they've always just been considered like fake trailers. That would be fun to see. I wouldn't mean. Yeah,
man, of all time, like I said lately, I'm like, oh man, because it sucks because a lot of the ones I picked in the '90s, the actors are so old now, or they're not even alive. But I mean, like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, would be cool to see another continuation of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any interest in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but I would be kind of cool with a sequel to Spaceballs.
I would watch a sequel to Spaceballs. I feel like there's a lot more because there have been a lot more sci-fi movies to come out that you could kind of poke fun at in a smart way, not like a scary movie way. Because
it'd be fun. They could do a sequel, and like I want to put Steve Carell in a role.
Steve Carell in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I see it maybe.
Because I said, like,
Maybe.
a lot of these guys, like, Rick Moranis, I don't know if he's ever gonna return the acting.
Yeah, he doesn't do a whole lot. He stopped. What
And
was
when
it?
his wife,
After his wife died?
when his
Is
wife
that what
died,
it was?
he
Yeah.
went full, like, pretty much into
He just
take parents.
dropped it to take care of his kids, which I mad respect for. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they've talked about doing a sequel to this one. I don't know if they ever will, but I really like the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, I have heard that a sequel is in development.
It's in development, but I mean, stuff can be in development for
That's
God
true.
knows how long.
That's true.
But I would like to see that one because I like Guy Ritchie and I like his Sherlock Holmes movies specifically. Those are probably some of my favorite movies that he does.
Imagine if Point Break they did a sequel to that, Keanu.
But I will say, so it's got to be with me. It's got to be a movie that needs one because
Right.
like if
Well,
you have
that's the thing though. So many movies that didn't need one have had sequels. Like,
yeah, exactly. So it's like
I'm trying to narrow it down franchises that I like.
Because it's like, okay, you've told your story, you did what you set out to do, and now you're just gonna like, if you don't have a good story in place, you're just gonna drag it out, and it's just gonna get boring.
How about Wedding Crashers? Wonder what they could do with that.
Nah.
No.
Comedies, I don't think there are a lot of good comedy sequels.
Well, look at The Hangover 2 was alright.
I didn't see Hangover movies.
Hangover 2 was Hangover.
Yeah, aren't they all Hangover essentially? Like,
I heard that the third one broke from the formula, which kind of disappointed
really?
me because I was like, wait a second. If you're just gonna retell the same story, then that should be like your gimmick. Like every movie
Right.
is your retelling. Because the Hangover 2, it tells the same story, but it does it in a completely new setting. They're like in Taiwan or something instead of Vegas.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because even though the plot is the exact same, it's different settings, like how the things happen. And so I was like, okay, this would be really funny if like they keep having this hangover and it's like the same exact scenarios, but with a different twist happen. But I heard, I didn't never see the third one, but I heard the third one they didn't do that. I was like, oh, you kind of broke that idea.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think of something that I think is more deserving of a sequel than Alita.
I know. Alita definitely.
Because Alita leaves off. Alita leaves off like as it's like a part one. Like it feels unfinished.
Right.
That's like the biggest problem with that movie is like it's begging to have that story continued.
Well, that's the thing. I'm trying to think of movies that don't have sequels. Pretty much everything has a sequel now.
A lot of movies these days are like franchise installments. Like, yeah, so.
Or a movie there's quite a many movies that don't have sequels, but a lot of them don't need
that I know of.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I have movies that I just adore, and I'm like, but I just don't want a sequel. Like I think a sequel would like kind of ruin it, or
Remember Jumper?
Oh yeah, Jumper. That wasn't a really good movie though.
I liked it.
I really liked it.
Really? Oh, I did not. I didn't hate it, but I was like, I don't need to see this ever again.
I would watch a sequel to The Italian Job, the one with what's his name, Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
I would watch a sequel to that.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Man from U.N.C.L.E. I want a sequel.
Oh, Man from U.N.C.L.E. Yeah, that one does need a sequel because that one ended like it was ready to do one. Yeah. That was a good movie.
If I was Cavell, I'd be like, I'm doing Man from U.N.C.L.E. Screw being they don't want to be a Superman anymore. Do that.
But so here's the thing. Yeah, you had Henry Cavill, but you also had Armie Hammer, who is like
now. It was a Guy Ritchie movie though, which I liked.
It was a Guy Ritchie movie. That was another Guy Ritchie movie. You're right.
So the guy that posted the Alita himself had responded to someone's post of this and said, what movie deserves a sequel so far? And he posts Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, I believe is what the full title was. and this was an old favorite of mine from the 80s. I could very much enjoy a sequel. I don't know how you could make a sequel to this, because it's been so long. Obviously, the actor, you'd have to
Mhm.
kind of just do a reboot, in my opinion. But, um, but yeah, I
District
very much
9
like
was
Remo
really
Williams.
District 9 would be fun to have a sequel to that, and even Neil Blomkamp said he'd want to do District 10, but he's never got around to it.
Oh yeah, that was
Mm.
for a long time. I was like, when are we getting District 10? Because the way that movie ends, you're like,
He's turning into an alien. It's like the whole movie. It's like, oh my gosh! It's like, what's gonna happen? Yeah,
oh, here we
uh,
go. How do we not think of this one? Dread.
Dread would be great. And I love the girl who played Anderson. I thought it was really well done.
This whole movie, man. This is one of the best comic movies.
And do you remember who was the Big Mama or whatever it was? She was the one who played Sarah Connor, Laura Headey.
Yeah. I try to
Yeah.
forget Sarah Connor. Although I do like Laura
Oh,
Headey.
yeah,
Wait, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, you mean? The TV
Yeah.
show?
yeah,
Yeah.
Terminator. Yeah.
Summer Glau, man. Who'd want to forget her?
Wanted never got a sequel.
I like her too, except not in Sarah Connor. I hate everything about Sarah Connor Chronicles. Like every person that's in that, I'm like, I like you, except in this show.
Yeah, Wanted. I liked it until I read the book. Now I don't like the movie as much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't care for the movie so much when I first saw it. It was all right.
Oh, no,
that
I loved
that
it.
movie got a lot of backlash when it came out.
So
I think it's
loved it
okay if
until
you're not
until I
if
read
you're
the-
not.
So
Go ahead.
I said I loved it, but recently I read the 6-issue the miniseries, the basic book off the book the movie's based off of, and they really glamorized it up, turned him into a hero. No, he was a criminal, and I was like, dude, do it based off what Miller did. I want that gritty thing. I love that.
It's the case with all
But
Miller's adaptations. His books are better. It's like
Yeah.
yeah,
that's why I don't get excited when like, oh, Netflix is doing another thing, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna mess it up
Oh,
again.
can you
Like,
imagine? So here's something that I would hate to see as a sequel: Goonies Legacy.
oh yeah, no.
Goonies, yeah, Goonies it begins, it ends, that's it. You don't need to revisit it.
So the person who did the Dread, which was a really good pick. I can't believe I didn't think of
Was
that
it
one.
was that the Carl Urban movie?
Yeah, the Carl Urban.
Oh, okay.
Not to be confused with Judge Dredd, which is the Sylvester Stallone one, which does
That's
not
the
need a
Stallone
sequel.
one, yeah.
Although I would totally love to see Stallone have a part in a Dredd. Like they could have him be Judge Death or I don't know something. Put Stallone
Have
in
him.
it, but I don't want to
Ooh,
see him as Dredd.
I want him in Judge Dredd, but having he's not Dredd, but he's an older captain.
Yeah, something like that.
He's retired. And this is so now they have to work together with this guy.
I don't know the Dredd universe well enough to like cast him properly, but I'm sure that
Casablanca
there's probably
never got a sequel.
Yeah, we don't need Casablanca, I don't think.
So it would have been great with Bulgar still alive, then do
No,
one. But
no, Casablanca's a one and done. That does not. Yeah, you don't need a sequel.
Speaking of one and done, this is the first one on the list here that I don't agree with. Leon the Professional, which is an old favorite of mine. I'm a Luc Besson fan. Natalie Portman's breakout role.
That's young Natalie Portman, right? When she was a kid.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember that one.
And
that seems like a one and done to me.
yeah, it's a one and done.
Doesn't need one. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could make a sequel where she's now an adult and she's an assassin.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it's impossible to do a sequel. I just don't feel like this movie's screaming for a sequel. Like
right.
Well, Tomb Raider with Alicia Vikander. I want a sequel.
Yeah, I do want to see a sequel to that one because I did like that iteration.
I never saw the new Tomb Raider.
One. The new Tomb Raider is pretty good. It's got more of like a survival. It's based off the Square Enix games that are more like survival horror kind of.
Well, they're all Square Enix games.
Well, it's the new games. They rebooted
the modern
the
reboots.
Tomb Raider.
Modern reboot. Yeah.
Which I like better in concept. I was never a fan of like the hot big breasted whatever. And I do not like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies.
I,
mean,
I don't. I tried them. I tried. I gave them a shot. They're just not my. I
I,
don't
I,
get Angelina Jolie. That's another one of the big actresses that I'm not too fond of. That everyone else seems to think is the bee's knees.
yeah, it should have been Michelle Pfeiffer. Zach would have loved that.
Jolie
No,
is
it
actually
would not
really
have.
good. I think. They tried to make her an action star, and I think that was
Mhm.
the problem. I'm like, this. She's a talented actress. Just make her
She's more
like,
like the drama, like you'd be like the
yeah,
thriller stuff. Like what was the one with her and oh, it was Taking Lives.
I never saw that one.
Taking Lives is probably her best movie that she's done, where she's a cop and then she's hunting down
Oh,
a serial killer,
okay.
and
all right.
it's not who she thinks it is. But the other one's The Bone Collector with Denzel Washington. That was another one I liked with her.
So here's gonna be a controversial pick for Venkman.
And I'm gonna say screw you, Ash.
What? Why screw
Gotta
me?
wait to
I
hear
did.
what it is first.
I'm saying it's a controversial pick. I
It's
I I didn't pick this. Someone else is saying it. Why is it screw me and not screw Amir Khan? Um,
that is your alt. That's your alt. I know it is.
um, I hear actually this is another one that's in development. Um, so we might be seeing Keanu on screen again as Venkman's favorite role. What about you, Zach? I know Venkman hates this movie, but what about you?
And a John Wick, with that and everything, and Keanu, it's like a Keanu Renaissance.
This isn't
I
John Wick.
saw, I know, but I was using that
Oh,
as an example. I liked the first one well enough. This is before Constantine was everywhere. Now
yep.
it's like you can't do a horror book for DC without Constantine being in it. I liked the movie well enough. I didn't know anything about the character when I saw the movie, which
Same here.
so I was kind of it was like an ignorance is bliss type deal. I didn't hate him in the role. It's I think it stands out. When I look at the different roles that I've seen him play, this one stands out. It seems to be a little bit different from a lot of them. I wouldn't. I think if he did a sequel, I would probably see it. I don't know if I'd be super enthused about it, like, oh yeah, Constantine too. But I would be interested to see what he would do with the character. From what I can tell, I don't know if he wants to or not, or maybe he does. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else that doesn't want to return to their role.
So
I'd like
I'm
to see
like
it.
you. I didn't love this movie, but I was entertained by it. I liked the
Mm-hmm.
ideas behind it, and I suspect it's just because the concept of John Constantine Hellblazer is a good concept, which is why it was a successful book. I do recognize after the fact, if going back and looking at Hellblazer and stuff, that Keanu Reeves is a very peculiar casting choice for John Constantine. Like I don't think he
Yeah.
really fits. I mean, he's a different character. He brings something different to the table. However,
Right.
I wasn't affected by that because I came in as a normie of sorts, where I was like I wasn't invested. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, oh, it's not like the book, whatever. I've also never been the biggest uh well, I should say, at the time when this movie came out, I wasn't a big Keanu fan. Like, I really thought he was a terrible actor. It wasn't until The Matrix that I started having a lot of respect for him. And even today, my respect for Keanu is as a person and his work ethic and the effort he puts in his films rather than his talent.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think he's the most gifted actor by any means. He's he's absolutely the worst part of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Stands out like a left foot. But this movie I thought was entertaining. And I think if they did a sequel, I think they would do it better. Um, so I kind of want to see a Constantine movie done rebooted with someone who's more fitting. But I would take this also.
They have to get Rachel Weisz back too.
That's
She
unlikely.
was she was a big part of why I
I
enjoyed the
would
first
say
one.
recast and put Matt Ryan in there.
Ryan?
The guy
But
from the show?
yes, the guy from the original NBC show, 13
His
show.
hair started to look so fake though. They brought him back for Legends, and his hair looked like frosted from like how all the boy bands
So,
frosted their hairs. That's
so
what I thought of every time I saw him.
yeah, but in Legends he was playing another serious role, so I'm sure that's probably part of the whole Legends humor crap.
So you want the not serious guy to go into a movie and play a serious guy?
But no, you listen to what I said? He's before Legends, he was NBC Constantine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, where he was a totally different version of Constantine. The CW one was shit. So,
I don't know. I like keeping my shows and movies separate. Like I don't want to see Grant Gustin come be Barry Allen in a DC
Yeah,
movie.
I mean,
Like,
well,
I
mostly
disagree.
too is like these TV actors aren't that good.
yeah, they're good enough for TV.
They're
but,
good enough for a CW show, but
right.
you know,
Like I don't want to see like not just Barry. Like I don't want to see Stephen Amell
Well,
play
you know,
Green Arrow.
you
Or,
realize that Grant Gustin is a movie actor too, right?
what movie has
doesn't
he
mean
been
he's a
in?
good movie actor. I mean,
That's
Well, he
also true.
doesn't mean he's a bad one either.
He's
if he's
probably
doing
mid,
CW
but,
shows, it tends to speak to
I
that.
mean, look, to be fair, he was on a long running CW show, so I will give him that. But and he might have been the best part for several seasons. But
So, I don't know who would make a good Constantine for sure. I would probably like to see some unknown.
Well,
unknown, I found myself in the spot where I'd like to see what unknown like smaller time actors bring to the table.
the problem is,
Netflix has really helped bring that out in me a lot because a lot of the Netflix shows they don't tend to get a lot of big A
well,
lists.
I'm so glad that the HBO Max canceled their Constantine show. They were going to race swap them.
Oh my
Well, there you
goodness,
go.
that would be, yeah, no.
Yeah, so I said
They already gender swapped him in the Sandman show, didn't they?
you're not going to get Shia LaBeouf back being his Chaz because of the way this original movie ended. Spoiler, died,
Oh man, thanks.
which is a good thing because I wouldn't want him back in the sequel anyway.
I like Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf's
He,
he's good.
So
he went
so
crazy for a little bit, but he was like really like he made Russell Brand from the past look sane.
the
But
thing
then
about
he got good. He got his head back on
so the
straight.
thing about so Zach, have you ever watched the original NBC Constantine at all?
No, I
'Cause
didn't watch it.
really like they really went by the Hellblazer one by one, every issue,
But
every
see,
episode.
I'm not into that though. That's like
They
that's not
paid
my scene.
respect, unlike MCU, who just makes up shit.
The MCU doesn't make up shit. The MCU they take stories that have been done and they just put a twist on it.
Yeah, the MCU, I side with Zach, and I mean they obviously stray off the
I mean, now
outside the lines quite a bit, but they do actually pull from the comics. DC seems to do that much less.
I mean,
Ed Brewer
DC
says
does do that as well, but
Ed Brewer says that gosh, just drew blank. Carl Urban could be a good Constantine. What do you guys think?
I could maybe see it.
The problem is I see him as Butcher.
Well, and I also
he's
see him
also
as
good.
Dredd.
I
Like,
also see him as Dr. Bones.
yeah, Carl Urban I think is too Carl Urban for me. Also, I like Carl Urban. I wouldn't hate him as necessarily Constantine, but if I were making the movie, I would prefer probably to go. I would go through a big casting call, find someone who's really fitting the role, and think less movie star and more like talent and casting choice.
If I had to pick an A-list name for Constantine, I'd probably go with someone like David Tennant, maybe.
Do you think David Tennant could have the gravitas though?
I think so.
I like David Tennant quite a bit, but he kind of
I liked him as Doctor Who, but he took the cake when he became the Purple Man.
he was good in both roles. I just don't see David Tennant having sort of that like masculine like gravitas that I would want to see more.
I love David Tennant as if they did a Sherlock Holmes.
No, that see anytime I see Constantine, he's not like he never comes across. Maybe this is because it's mostly modern books I see him in, but he never comes across as like super masculine or like tough. He's always like he's got the guy that has like a scheme going in the background of his mind or something, which I think Tennant nails that vibe.
In the original Vertigo Hellblazer, he was really not a nice guy whatsoever, and they also aged him up as the books went on. He was the only character that I know of, comic book character that actually aged that was brought to the DC universe. The show really respected. They had the comic book version of Chaz. He wasn't a young kid. He was actually, he was more Constantine's age. He was a friend that he grew up with. And like I said, I really liked, the way they did handle it. So, but I mean, as far as who would I cast? I mean, I've thought about it. I've gone over who the actor. Unless you bring the unknown, the only person I can think of is Matt Ryan, because Matt Ryan, the way he acted on that NBC show, the Legends thing is CW. You could put Stallone on there, and he'd be CW-fied, and you wouldn't like it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I
know they did that with Danny Trejo. They had it a few times, or Danny Trejo.
Oh, Danny Trejo's so CW. Oh God,
Yeah.
he's so cringy on the Flash.
Like,
Oh.
this is not Machete. What are you doing?
Oh, Danny. Oh, his characters.
It's my daughter.
It's so awful. Oh my goodness.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
That's what I mean. CW just takes actors that are good otherwise and just ruins them. Now, I would say the only time that's been opposite has been with the Superman and Lois. I did not like what's his name, the one that plays Clark Kent on Teen Wolf. He was very hokey on that.
Tyler Hoechlin.
Tyler Hertz or whatever, yeah.
I will admit that show made that actor appear better. I still would not want to see him take over as Superman, like in the movie franchise.
Yeah.
But I will give credit where credit's due. I went from full on seething hatred of him to like, okay, you're watchable. Like,
yeah, I would say he's, as far as television actors, he's more like the 1950s. Like, he's not as I want to say he's not as good as George Reeves, but I'm saying the way his personality is really written like very humbling, like the old school Superman, which I like. See, you can have good writers. As long as you have good writers, actors can appear better. It's when the writing sucks.
Well, the writing, but also directing. We've seen. I mean, all I got to do is look at the Star Wars prequels to see how bad like A-list actors can be. People like,
Liam Neeson,
Samuel L. Jackson, Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman. Like, their acting is horrendous in this movie, and it's because George Lucas, for all of his amazing talent and things that he's brought to cinema, does not know how to direct actors.
Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
I think that's when Ewan McGregor was just getting started in movies.
Yeah.
But look at that.
He had done one big movie, or popular movie.
And then he did Haywire, which he was kind of a cringe character in that, and then he was in Birds of Prey.
Well, Haywire was way after the prequels ended.
I know. I'm just saying. Some of these actors are better off when they're in like was it Ewan McGregor in The Island with Scarlett Johansson?
Yes.
Which I love.
Underrated film.
Uh-oh.
Very, very underrated film.
Back over here. Close my window.
Speaking of underrated, it is time to get into the ratings.
Right back.
Oh, he's got to go catch a skunk.
Sure. Skunk? Somebody could just be smoking some Mary Jane outside your window.
Man, I hope you're not smoking something that smells like a skunk.
I hope he's not either, but I was telling some friends that I thought the other day. So we've had like really nice weather over here in Louisiana the last few days. Like it feels like California weather. Like it's low humidity. There's light breezes. So I've been like driving around with my windows down.
Nice.
And I went to the gym over, I think it was Friday. I went to the gym, and I'm walking outside, walking to my car, and it's like it's a busy area, busy neighborhood. And so there's like a coffee house and a grocery store and a movie theater across the street. And I'm just walking to my car, and all of a sudden I just get like a big whiff, like the breeze just like brings this big whiff of marijuana stink my way.
Yeah.
I was like, seriously? I can't even enjoy like a nice day outside walking to my car without, because now we have like cannabis dispensaries. They're becoming more popular over here.
Yep.
And so now it just like emboldens everything. So it's like, man, now I gotta smell this junk like everywhere.
Yep, that's exactly what
So
happened in Colorado when I was there. Colorado was the first of 2 states to do that.
yep.
And then when I moved back to California, shortly after that, California went that way. And I think it's even worse here in California than it was in Colorado. But man, all over the place. I'm just smelling it. And it's like, ugh.
Ooh,
And like
ugh.
I've smelled the bad stuff before. I used to live next to a neighbor in an apartment complex that smoked like really bad stuff. And then like even the quote unquote good stuff, it's still like I'm convinced there's no such thing as a decent smelling marijuana.
Yeah,
Like it
no,
all
It-
stinks.
your
No, I
your
would say
instincts are right on.
I would say if you're going to marijuana that's not grown with the angel dust and all the weird stuff added to it, like the older stuff was actually better.
Not for
Well,
me.
better in the sense that it was less poisonous for you, yes. But as far as stinking
Yeah,
less,
I didn't smoke it, but I knew people and family members that did,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's compared to what's out today,
Oh yeah.
like it doesn't stink. The new stuff stinks.
Mm.
Oh no, it's
But
I don't know.
regardless, though, Mr. Pepe Le Pew comes by my house because my neighbor has chickens.
Oh,
Wait, do
Yeah,
skunks eat chickens?
they drain the blood from them.
What? I didn't know this. I thought skunks were like. Well, I guess it makes sense that they're that they would be some kind of predator. I
They
just
what
thought
they
that
do,
they always ate like berries and bugs and
so
stuff.
what they do is they spray the chickens and it basically cause them to what do you call it? Basically choke on it and they can't breathe and then they die and then they drain the blood from them by they're like vampires.
jeez.
I did not know this. I just learned something new.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, I'm kind of glad because my neighbor is illegally having chickens over there. He's not supposed to have them. So and the skunk's been taking them out one by one every night. I've been loving it.
Aw, man, poor. I was talking with a friend of mine about this. If I ever like buy a house, first thing I want to do is get some chickens.
Wait a
You
minute. How is
you
it
have to
illegal?
have
How is it illegal to have chickens?
Yeah,
well no
you're not in
so
California.
no so basically you have to have a amount of land considered basically a farm in order to have chickens and raise eggs stuff. You have to have because the problem with chickens is that they draw rats. They draw and all the other predators into your yard. So they basically you have to have enough acres of land in order they consider it would be a farm, and you can have chickens.
Ay, ay, ay.
Actually, it's good because I don't want all, dude. If you live too close to me, I don't want freaking chickens drawing all the skunks and all that freaking crap here in my yard.
Oh, man, if your neighbor gets chickens, then I would imagine that you would be better off because you could probably go get some eggs for a sweeter deal than whatever they're charging at the local grocery store.
Nah,
They're
and they're not
probably
even,
healthier
and
too.
they're not even his chickens because where it's his family member who lives somewhere else where they will call the cops on them. They're not allowed because they're so close to the house. You have no land whatsoever. It's like if you're in like the suburbs where you have no land where you can pass the salt to each other. You're not allowed to have chickens in your backyard.
You know,
Same with here.
you're ratting them out to the
Whatever.
feds.
I don't have to. The skunks do my business. That's why I've never called.
The communists have
So
taken over Wisconsin
and
just
it
like they've taken
and
over
his dog
California.
likes to shit in my yard.
I
So
know. Man, if I get chickens and somebody rats me out, I ain't gonna be friendly.
Yeah.
oh well.
All right, let's move on to vigilante justice in the form of comic books. Batman and Robin. It's our first book of the night. Trying to get things moving along instead of endless side rail divergent conversation.
Yeah.
Divergent. That's a good movie. Never should have got a sequel.
Divergent's got 2 sequels. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I never should have got one. They got worse as they
It was
went
a
on.
good movie, then it sucked. All right. This is Batman and Robin #1 from the dawn of DC. Apparently DC's dawning after 80 years of existence. It's birthing. I don't know what the hell dawn of. No, does anyone know what dawn of DC means? I don't get it.
So Dawn of DC was
Rebirth.
basically it's another rebirth created by Mark. They had the whole Lazarus Planet, which basically launched new characters. There's a rebirth, a reboot of the DC universe. So that's what Dawn of the DC is basically. After all this shit, like they had their what was the last one they had before this? They had the Lazarus Planet event.
That was an
So
event. But yeah, so there was
it's an event that changed it.
Future
It's a
State was
soft
the
reboot.
yeah, the Future State was before this, and then Rebirth, and then New 52 before that. But it's always like feels like DC is always like new. We're rebirthing ourselves again. It's like every couple of years, it's like they're just launching over, and for me, it's
also
becoming like tiresome. Of like, it's like okay, you
Yeah.
read this, and you just know that in 2 years, all this is going to be irrelevant because there's going to be a brand new dawn of DC called something else.
Well, yeah, they had the whole Nezra thing, which actually started off on Mark Waid's World's Finest. Mark's World's Finest introduced Demon Nezra, and then they did the whole Lazarus Planet thing, and it branched part Joshua Williamson's Lazarus thing, which is leading up to it. His Robin series. So like I said, like it's basically Mark Waid's version of the DC universe rebooting.
And not much that it's his version. I think it's just
like
I don't know. This I think it all started after. And here's my issue with Dawn of DC. I don't have an issue with it. You want to do something like Rebirth or New 52, whatever, that's fine. But Dawn of DC, like they've just been using that banner title forever. Like,
and also,
guys, it's been like 9 months already. Like
I'll just say it's great. Having Dawn of DC and all that BS, it was great. Is there them trying to? I feel like it's also them trying to distance themselves from Bendis.
Maybe I don't know if I see it that way, but
the Bendis Superman.
I feel like they want to distance themselves from the stupid reboot of Future State, which was just a terrible idea.
Oh, could be that too. I'd forgotten about Future State. Yeah.
Yeah, but then they did Night Terrors, which was equally dumb.
But that was just an event. You guys are.
Yeah, that was an event. It was a 2-month event. I mean, that I feel helped drag out the
Future State was also 2 months. Well, it's supposed to be.
Was it just 2 months? I feel like
2 months. If by 2 years you mean 2 months.
It was 2 months. It was a 2-month event that the effects were felt for 2 years, and then they decided, you know what, we're going to reboot it. Yeah.
That was after Dark Knight Death Metal, I think.
Like Dawn of DC was only supposed to be a 2-month thing as well. You know,
no, Dawn of DC. Dawn of DC is the new initiative. It's like the new Rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just like Rebirth had the branding for about 2 years, and just like New 52, the same thing. Like whenever they do a new initiative, they put that branding on so that you're aware. Eventually, they'll pull it off like they did New 50 or Rebirth, but they're still in that until the next. But I don't think they've gone more than 2 years since without rebooting. So when you read these comics, no matter how good they are, you have to think in the back of your head, like, how long is this going to last? Because DC's proven time and time again that they can't stick with anything.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Anyway.
This is the new book by Joshua Williamson, who I'm a big fan of. I'm more of a fan of his indie books. I introduced him to a lot of people on this channel when I did the reading for Birthright, which I still recommend to people. If you have not read Birthright from Image Comics, fantastic art and writing. It is a fantasy story of kind of like an ultimate like warrior kind of hero, chosen one, save the universe or save the world from the demon magical, it's like He-Man. But it's like that, but it crosses over with the real world, and it's got some really interesting ideas behind it, and the story hook is just fantastic. I read it on my channel, got people interested. I found myself loving it, went on eBay, bought all the issues that had been out at the time, and found myself collecting it right till the end. It's a 50-issue ongoing series that lasted quite a long time. The same creative team has currently got a new series out called Dark Ride, which is a completely different book, although it's the same writer and artist team up, but that's more of a really weird horror story that I can't even explain, that involves a theme park. But it's Birthright is fantastic. So that's where I became a big fan of him. And I liked him in when he came out of DC. He did the first Batman Robin. No, not Batman Robin. He did Batman Superman series before that got taken
Mm-hmm.
over by someone else. But that initial run of him on Batman Superman, I thought was really good. Um, and he did something else over there that I really liked. But then I got out of DC, and so I missed some of his newer stuff that you guys are more familiar with.
He
And
did.
now
So he did the Flash. He was on the Flash for a long time.
that's
Yeah.
right. He was on
Uh,
all the Rebirth. Flash was him. He did like almost 100
all of
issues, didn't
Rebirth
he?
Flash. Yeah, it was an amazingly long stretch he did on the Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be at least 100 issues. Then he's also like under the whole Dawn of DC thing. Well, before Dawn of DC, he had a Robin series that went for like 12 or 13 issues. That was really good. He's doing a Green Arrow series right now, which I've been liking a lot. He's doing that with Sean Isaac, who's the artist, it's a really good story. If you like Green Arrow, it's worth checking out. And then he's also the writer behind the new Superman series with Jamal Campbell doing the art, which is fantastic. Highly recommend his Superman run. He's doing a lot of stuff. It makes me nervous because I feel like some writers I think can do that and some can't. Like they can get burned out. I'm hoping that Williamson isn't one of those writers that gets burned out after doing too much.
I'm gonna push
But
back on you on that. I don't think any
okay,
writer. I don't think any writer can do it.
you don't think any writer can?
I think
Okay,
some writers do it better than other writers for sure. Like, but I don't think there's one writer that can stretch themselves out and it doesn't affect their work in a negative way.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any time I've seen someone do it well. I mean, shoot, when Bendis's last 2-3 years at Marvel, he was on every other title, and all of them
Well, when he was at
were not.
DC, he was
No,
doing 10 titles at one
he was
point.
doing. I know he was doing Action Comics. I guess he was doing Superman too. And
He
I
was
know
doing
he had like he had the Young Justice title that he was doing.
Yep.
He was on Justice League for a stretch before they canceled it.
Yep, and
Those are the only ones I can think of.
he also had 3 of his own, was it Jinx World books?
Oh, he had Naomi too. Didn't Naomi have a book?
And he had Naomi. Yeah, there
I
was one
forgot about
time I
Naomi.
counted 10 current on the shelf books from Bendis at one point. I was like,
Yeah,
if you're writing these as monthly books, and let's say you have a
yeah.
20 day month, uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Not
20
including
days. That's
weekends or
2 days
anything.
a
Yeah,
book. He's writing a book every 2 days. Like you can't tell me that a good writer can do that
right,
consistently. Like maybe one month you pull it off, but month after month, I mean, if you're
right.
only putting 2 days of effort into your book, at the very least, even if it's enjoyable to the reader's like, I enjoyed this. I say, okay, good. Maybe you did. But imagine if he put 20 days of effort into this book instead of just 2, how much better it would be.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, anyways, Joss Williamson, I think, was better when he was writing just like a couple books, like The Flash and Birthright.
I think he's also doing that new. I think he's doing one of the GI Joe books for Robert Kirkman too.
Yep. But that's only a one shot, I think. So,
It's either a one shot or it's a limited series.
yeah.
It's one or the other. Yeah.
So, does anyone want to give the synopsis of Batman and Robin so we can talk about it? Or do you want me to?
I feel like it's one of you two do because I already did that on my channel.
Did we do a Batman and Robin synopsis? Oh wait, for Thursday you mean?
Yeah, Thursday I went through it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, go ahead. Ash, it's your channel. You, by all means.
Well, it's our show.
Well, I know, but
This
it's
is just
channel.
my channel's just hosting it, and I don't really have a channel, as everyone tells me anyway. So, all right. So this is Batman and Robin. Here's the 2-page spread. They give a 2-page spread to the credits. That right there is annoying to me. Now I'm actually a fan of Simone DeMeo quite a bit, but I'll talk about my liking of or disliking of the art, one of the two, after we get through. So it opens up and we got Batman and Robin. Yay! It's exciting. Splash pages. and we got a villain that I'm not familiar with. Looks like a Mad Hatter
White Rabbit.
spin-off.
Yeah.
White Rabbit. Yeah,
White Rabbit.
She's been around since the 70s, actually.
Has she? Like I said, I'm not familiar with. That's all on. Just
She's a
she
poser.
feels like a Harley Quinn type of character. As Harley Quinn is to Joker, she feels like that way to Mad. Anyways, that was my take as someone who's not familiar with the character. But that's neither here nor there. And Batman and Robin crashing in, and we're stopping her crime. And we get a little bit of a scene which felt very familiar. Like it felt very harken back to the Batman 66. To me, this felt very much like I was like just hearing the music from that show in the background. It's like, and the punching is like boom, bow, boom. Just that was just me though, I guess. Um, and she villainous monologue, and she's like, "Well, Pooh, why does someone in tights always ruin our fun? Looks like it's time I escape down the rabbit hole." To which she gets caught by Robin, and Batman and Robin have a nice little fist bump moment, and he's bragging, it's in record time. Good work, Robin, says Batman. And they take him to jail, and then they go back to Bruce's brownstone because Bruce has been ripped off, apparently, by his once good friend, Lucius Fox. Still don't fully understand why this all happened,
Josh Williamson, I believe.
and why Bruce hasn't stopped him, because he is the greatest crime fighter in the history of the world. But this is what it is. And he's coming to the, and there's a woman waiting. And she's like, "Bruce, the gang and I know this bouncer working the door at the Iceberg Lounge if you want to join us." "Thanks, I'd love to, but my son is moving in with me this weekend." "Oh, it's so cute that you're single dad, Bruce." We get this moment, and Damien's having a cringe.
Wait, he does the Batman voice when he's not Batman?
No, it wasn't a Batman voice. That's how Bruce Wayne talks. When I voice him, that's how Bruce Wayne talks.
I hear Kevin Conroy.
Yes, that's how Bruce Wayne talks, like Kevin Conroy.
Yep.
That was not Kevin Conroy.
I am not good at channeling Kevin Conroy. Otherwise, I'd have probably a career of voice acting. Anyway, so he's like introducing Damien to the new pad. He's like, because everything going on with Selena, we're just here for a bit. I'll find you. You'll find that I outfitted the brownstone with state-of-the-art security. Blah blah blah. And this is just kind of a bunch of filler stuff. Upstairs is not functional. It's fully functional, but it's mostly just cosmetic. But here's your room. Blah blah blah. There's a picture of Alfred to remind fans that yep, we still don't have Alfred. One of the dumbest things DC's done in a long time. And then we cut over to some page. They're just having some sort of attempt at a father-son moment. And I guess Bruce is trying to talk to him, to which Damien closes the door on his face. And Bruce decides he's going to try. He just stands there awkwardly. And then he's going to knock on the door to maybe try to talk to him, but then can't muster up the courage to talk to his son. And so he walks away, and he's like, says to himself, "How did you do it, Alfred?" Which I thought was a weird moment for me to read Bruce. I didn't like seeing Bruce in that light.
Honestly, okay, I'll let you continue. Then we'll get back to that.
Yeah. So Damien's keeping some sort of, not a journal per se. It's kind of almost like he's kind of like seems to be writing a fictional exploits of a character who's based on himself as a way of self-expression. I don't know. It's interesting. A character called Damien Vane. I thought this was kind of interesting, but didn't really go anywhere yet. We get more pictures outside of the brownstone. Bruce Wayne's sleeping in bed and he's stretching, and then he's walking around the house. Damien, and then now Damien's apparently domesticated Damien, the cook, the food cuisine connoisseur, who's now making food and talking about how it's really not breakfast because it's brunch if you sleep in, blah, blah, blah. Bruce is going to make some tea, Then Damien has to smack the tea bag out of his hand and say, are you an animal? That's not how a gentleman prepares tea. Watch and learn. And so Damien now has to show Bruce Wayne how to make tea properly, which I'm not a tea aficionado, but I do understand a little bit about tea. I've never seen anyone actually brew tea in the pot, especially at 320 degrees Fahrenheit. None of this even makes sense. They're sitting down. You sip. He's like, you sip the tea without checking for poison. To which Bruce responds, progress. Another beta moment of Bruce here, um, and so they're sitting down, and Bruce is like, okay, now, so I'm gonna establish some ground rules, even though I haven't demonstrated any testosterone so far in this book. But it's an important thing I want to speak to you about. You're going to go to public high school, which makes no sense why Batman would be sending his kid to public high school. But there you go. He's going to send him. Damien's like, I'm already smarter than everybody at the school, including all the teachers. We've got way too much crime stuff going on. I don't need to go there. I don't want to go there. Why are you sending me? Well, I want you to have the teenage experience that I never had, says Bruce Wayne. Really? You want your kid, who is like one of the most exceptional kids in the entire world, to go hang out with a bunch of delinquents in public school and grow up to be like a normal douchebag? Sure, I guess. Also, this is the heir to the Wayne legacy, but that you apparently flushed down the toilet, so I don't get any of this stuff's happening. Damien seems to be the only person with grown-up pants on in this. It seems really weird. To which Damien has to argue, like, well, look, I've already taken the time to map out all the crimes and things that are going on, blah, blah, blah. I've made some progress. I've discovered where this guy is, la, 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 la. It's still going on. So Bruce is like, no, you can't drive the Batmobile. And he's like, about that, as you pointed out, Father, during my travels away from you in Gotham, I learned and acquired quite much, including my own car, which apparently the greatest detective in the world didn't know that Damien had a car at the brownstone that he set up with a state-of-the-art security. I don't get it. But anyways, so dad jumps in shotgun to let his underage kid drive this car. So it's kind of weird seeing Batman riding shotgun here. Especially like if he was injured, like I've seen times where like Batman was injured and Tim had to take over and like drive, but whatever. So they go and they gotta go fight some crime, and they run into Killer Croc, who's like a weird cartoonish version of Killer Croc. And he's captured someone, the doctor, I guess. And Damien's making some quips about this is a sorry attempt at a kidnapping. And Croc snaps back, and feels like Saturday morning cartoon dialogue. And I'm not saying that to be completely disparaging. Some of it is genuinely fun if you're in for that mood. It turns out that Killer Croc has assembled an entire squad of villains that are all animal themed. Because I guess that's fun. So we've got these different Man Bat you probably recognize. Some of these other characters I didn't. So they get in a fight because that's what happens in Batman and Robin stories. And there's a mysterious villain with a gun, got Batman in their sights, and ends up shooting Batman. And this always made me wonder as I was reading. I was like, how come Batman's never been sniped before? It's like, this seems like a prime opportunity for lure Batman out with some henchman garbage, and then you sit in the distance and snipe him away. But that wouldn't be fun. But when he gets sniped, it makes you just think about that. Damien's kicking all sorts of ass because that's what Damien does. And Batman calls to him, and Robin shows up, and he finds out he's like, I've been shot. And he's like, he falls off the gargoyle. It's a small gas pellet. Hit me as I breathed it in, not poison, something else. Then we need to get you back to the Batcave now. Damien, the bats. They seem like they're drawn here. Father, they're attacking. You! And to be continued in Bat versus Man. And that is the end of the first issue of Batman and Robin. Who wants to go first?
Boy, Doctor.
All right. For me, things you need to know about for bag knowledge. That's the one thing about if you're just jumping into this blind, they're not going to give you everything with the previous stuff. James Tynion is the blame for the whole Lucius Fox thing. That was Joker War. That was James Tynion, Tynion, whatever. And since then, they never course correct. Mariko Tamaki is the one that gave him the Bronze Jury thing. Isn't the first time he's lived outside the mansion before, when the mansion was being rebuilt or it was destroyed in a fire. So it's something really new. But they established that he was a multimillionaire, not a multi-billionaire like he was before. But eventually there are kinks in there because there are people who do not know how to write. So there's not very continuity as far as that. So what you're gonna see is like, he's like, oh, like I believe it was in Zdarsky where he returns the cave and finds that Vandal Savage now owns the cave. Because as I said, you have people who are writing this who don't pay attention to what happened in the past stuff. So it's a lot of inconsistency, and it really drives me nuts. That's why I usually avoid these books. And I read the animated adventures continue. What I did like though, you'd mentioned before when they're in the apartment part section where Bruce is kind of like trying to do this. Bruce has never really shown fatherly stuff. He's mainly doing more Batman all the time. He's done it here and there, but not so much. So him living full time with Damian, we're getting to see that, because from my point of view, what they've been writing, and since Tinian and all stuff, or since Grant Morrison introduced Damian, they've never really lived together, and actually as father and son.
That's not true. And then Tomasi
And
run. He was.
but it's saying but they're not. You realize they're ignoring the Tomasi run in this. That's what I mean. It throws me off.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
this comes from the whole reason Damien's in the picture is because of what's happened in the past. But if you're ignoring what's happened in the past,
Yeah.
does none of this make sense?
But they also got to think about back then. He had Alfred to help. Alfred looked after Nightwing. He looked after even Bruce. Alfred was always there as a father figure to the boys, more so than Bruce was.
Right. So,
And
but if Alfred's dead, then what you're telling me is that Rebirth is part of the continuity. Tomasi was writing Batman and Robin and Detective Comics in the Rebirth continuity. Why? Yeah. So why? I guess I'm. Anyways,
I don't know either.
Keep
But
going.
I mean, they're going off basically Alfred. So it's basically what and Josh Williams was playing is that Alfred did everything. That Bruce was basically a bad father. He was always this Batman. He was never. So, and I see it now, and then so Damian is like the little prodigy child. So when the whole thing with the T made me chuckle because he was raised with a Ra's al Ghul over there. So I'm sure everything was all to the finest standards and all stuff, kind of like a snobbish thing. They had a certain way. Where Bruce is more the barbarian. That's the joke, Same with the whole the car thing. Bruce has been gone for like I forgot how long with Zdarsky tuning into because this is also branching off Zdarsky. Bruce was in a dimension thought dead for all these how many weeks or months he was gone. So Damian coming and surprising him, having a car in there, it just shows that Bruce is kind of either sloppy or these people just don't understand Bruce.
I'm not even. I'm just talking about within the information of just this comic. We see here Bruce introducing Damian to the Brownstone. I've gone ahead of time. I set this place up. I put in the security, and then in the meantime, Damian, who didn't know about it, managed to put his car in the facility, and Batman doesn't know about it. It's just like, wait a second, who knows what?
And that's the thing with Damian and Bruce have always been kind of like on the competitive stuff. I can see Damian basically adapting to things quickly, learning how to do stuff.
Or was he keeping the car previously? I don't know.
The car. I don't know if it was on the Robin series. I didn't read all through that. That's Zach.
No, he didn't. He didn't have the car on the Robin series yet.
But I do know that Bruce has been written as being predictable, and Damian picks up on the stuff, so he might know. It might took him a couple of seconds to basically hack into the thing, you know.
Where does Damien get the presumably at
The
least
money,
hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not
his mom
millions?
probably.
No, he
Yeah,
doesn't. He
probably his
doesn't.
mom.
He's not getting money from his mom.
Probably.
She's in charge of
You're-
the League of Assassins. She has wealth.
So Batman's just sitting there cool that he's getting money from the League of Assassins.
If he doesn't know about it.
He doesn't know about
The
it. Yeah,
world's greatest
She's
detective
Rob-
doesn't know his own son is getting money from one of his greatest enemies.
So Bruce
Well, no.
and Damian had kind of been separated and estranged for like in at least here in recent comic
Yeah,
history.
yeah.
That's why like when Joshua Williamson wrote the Robin run, Bruce wasn't around. Robin had kind of decided
Right.
to go off and do his own thing.
No,
Also,
that was
Rachel
Yeah.
Ghoul's been dead. Talia's been kind of turned over a new leaf more. She's becoming more or less a villain. They're giving her an anti-hero thing. Yeah, and that's so like I said, it's possible that he acquired this car. Who knows? He may have even just got it for illicit means. We don't know.
regardless.
whole
My
thing is
point
supposed
is
to-
that Batman is just like,
Yeah.
my son just does whatever he wants, goes off, gets money, and like it's just so weird to me. This doesn't
But-
feel like the book is trying to set up a father-son dynamic by this whole like previous discussion about, look, I want to set some ground rules. Look, you're going to go to school, la 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 la, and then, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to pay attention to any other form of your life, which includes you having basically millions of dollars of your own money at 14 years old that you just go around and you live unsupervised. To me, it's just all like weird. Like,
Well,
it's hard for me to.
I blame.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I blame Grant Morrison. Damien's always been rebellious. He's always done what he wanted to do. You know, that's Grant Morrison introduced the character. So,
right, but if you read the
unlike Tim and
Tomlinson,
them,
if you read the sorry, not Tomlinson, Peter Tomasi run, that was like the brilliance of that run was that you had this rebel kid and you had Batman, Bruce Wayne, in this character who didn't really understand how to be a father and a kid who desperately needed a father, and they both, their relationship, like they both built upon each other. You had this rebellious kid who was raised by assassins, and Bruce Wayne, who's like this great hero but doesn't really know how to be a dad, trying to turn him into something good and be a father, but he himself doesn't know how. And yet Damien's role was actually, you could see, affecting Bruce, and Bruce learning how to be a father, which is, I think, how most parents would attest.
yes.
Anyone who has kids, like, you start
the
off
thing is
knowing,
that-
I have no idea what I'm doing, but as you become a parent, you learn on the job, and you could see Batman doing it. It was really beautiful storytelling, and I don't want to bash any other writers because they're not Peter Tomasi, but all I'm trying to say is that I've seen this done already the right
Yeah.
way, so let's have other
They-
people at least emulate that,
So
build
this
on what's
book
been
is
done.
not- So this was supposed to be a joke, a humor thing, attempt throwing in this. Josh Williams does.
I get
once
it.
in a
I
while.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was supposed to be a
It was
joke.
supposed to be overly serious, and seeing Batman running shotgun, in his expression, he doesn't seem happy there. So there might be, who knows? There might be repercussions later on.
It's just,
And also, Bruce doesn't access the Batmobile right now.
but the jokes don't work if at the same time as I'm hearing the joke, it makes me think of like negative things.
I also didn't read the Tomasi run, so I don't have a problem with it. Where you have that knowledge, I didn't know that.
Well, fair enough, but I mean,
Yeah,
you're
like I said, it's back to my original point. Not all writers either know what the previous writer's done in the past, or they ignore it and they just do their own thing.
well, aside from all the
yeah.
aside from comparing it to Tomasi or Grant Morrison, what did you think? What are your impressions of the book? Are you liking how it's being done?
I actually like the fact that Robin is surprising Bruce, because Bruce is still kind of out of it. Not only and because of this, in the main continuity, he's fighting this war against stupid Catwoman and all that stuff. So he's got a lot on his mind. He's distracted. My only complaint more with this book is the fact I don't like the moonlight stuff, like the Moon Knight stuff. It looks very glossy. And this only works with the Moon Knight book. the art on here, I don't like. Look at the bright lights. I don't like that. You know, and what's it supposed to be? Is that coming off the car? I mean, I don't know. It's just too bright for me. Like I feel
Well,
like
I mean,
I have yeah
they're in
like
a
the glow.
mega city, so
Yeah,
oftentimes big cities have lots of lights all over the place.
yeah, but compared to the other Batman books, you don't see the bright pink. You don't see the bright blues. You don't see all that stuff.
Fair enough.
That's
This artist is known for their bright coloring.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
And
holy crap.
I want to comment on that, but I want to hear from Zach. Zach, what was your impressions of this book?
Okay, so my impressions of this book, I have not read all of the Tomasi run, but I have been reading the Ram V Detective Comics, and I do like the difference in tone this has from Detective Comics. This was something I said back when I was enjoying Chip Zdarsky's first couple of books on Batman, was I liked having a different tone. So like Detective Comics is like this mystery, this slow burn, makes you think about what's going to happen next. And at the time, Chip Zdarsky's book was more action, fast paced, in your face, you didn't have time to breathe kind of book. This is different. This one, it seems like it is gonna, focus more on the father son dynamic between Batman and Robin, for better or for worse. Uh, no, I liked it. The whole, Alfred, how did you do it? I liked it because kind of similar to what RDV said. I did always think that Alfred was like, he always came across as like the major caregiver with the Robins, or even with Bruce, honestly. Of course, Alfred is the father figure to Bruce, and I think he was kind of more of the nurturing or more of the like caring father figure to the Robins, whereas Bruce was kind of like the, train them, be more diligent. He's a more disciplined caregiver.
Yeah,
But
he's more Batman than he was Bruce.
yeah, but so that was my thoughts with that. Batman being in the brownstone, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, of course, the Lucius Fox and them, they have all the money. I didn't care to be reminded of that, but I guess that's a really big important part of the character. So you can't just like gloss over that, I guess. The animal themed villains I thought was kind of cool, actually. I actually kind of dug it. I like Killer Croc as a bad guy. He does look a lot more cartoony. I blame Suicide Squad for that. It feels like ever since Suicide Squad they decided to make him like this big giant green scaly guy, rather than the guy with the actual skin disease that Waylon Jones used to be. But then yeah, you had like Orca, Man Bat. There was a I don't know. I thought the plot twist at the end with the villains, like they're getting turned into actual animals. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, overall, as far as first issues go, I won't say this is his best one. His first Superman issue, I think was way better than this. I think his first Green Arrow issue was better. Um, it's not terrible though. I mean, it does have me at least wanting, like, I'm at least curious to see how the rest of this story arc goes. I am very different from RDV on this. I did like the art. This art style, it's not the same artist, but there is a similar art style, like he said, going on with Marvel's Moon Knight, where it's like this very sleek, lots of edges, and kind of a glossy, reflective look. I actually like it for Batman. So yeah, I didn't have an issue with that in this issue here. I actually kind of dug it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. It's not super, but it's also not. I wouldn't say it was mid or anything. I'd say it's above average. So
I think for today's standards for comics, it's above average. But for a better era in comics, I think this would be severely lacking. And I think when I was giving the synopsis here, I was kind of pointing out there was a lot of just like filler space of like, just, oh look, I'm gonna knock on, no, I'm not gonna knock on the door, like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and ponder over my little journal thing that I'm doing, and okay, now look, there's the exterior shot of the brownstone, oh, now here's Bruce lying in bed, now here's Bruce stretching. Like a lot of just and then one of the
Well,
stereotypical things we see in modern comics is characters standing around eating. Now it's, I guess, standing around cooking, and seeing Damien being like little Chef Ramsay, to me, I just thought was, to me, it didn't work. I was like, I'm not, and I didn't care that 2 full pages were devoted to it. Um,
Yeah.
I
The
did
pay.
actually like this
Yeah.
part of Damien where he's like,
so
look, while you were sleeping in, I took the time to run all these things and find this out and do and like showing off, because that is one thing about Damien is he's got this sort of like elitist
Chip on his
attitude
shoulder.
that, well, he's got a chip on his shoulder, but he's also got this like, I'm better than people, like, because he is.
yeah,
He's like super smart. He's super highly trained, and so everyone around him seems like a dunce from his perspective, and it's kind of developed this attitude of like, I'm better than other people. And it's a very human thing, and it's something that I really enjoyed in other stories where Bruce had to sort of like teach some humility into him, and it would also get Damien into trouble, because while he was highly skilled, he wasn't perfect, and he could still make mistakes, and he could still get injured and things like that. But I did like this side. I felt like that was in character. To RDV's point, I did see the joke part of this with the car. Like, I got my own car. I just thought that the way it was executed kind of was like, this could have been done in a better way. I do like the animal villains. I'm on the fence about my thoughts. Like, part of me is like, oh, it's it's basically Batman 66, but done in a modern sensibility and not completely cornball like Batman 66. But it has that like lighthearted. The Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne in this comic feels much more like the Adam West Bruce Wayne. Um, but and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, right? I just I've had a few times where I felt like Bruce Wayne wasn't really portrayed in the character I understand Bruce Wayne in, and it was kind of annoying to me because like why I like Batman comics, because I like Batman, and if you make Batman not feel like Batman to me, then
yeah.
it's going to be odd. But I don't necessarily the the animal guys or whatever. This is classic Batman villains. It's done in a more lighthearted way. Um, Now the art, I'm a big fan of Simone DeMio. I first came to know about his art. He did an independent series with Al Ewing called "We Only Find Them When They're Dead,"
Oh, okay.
and it's a sci-fi, like space-faring sci-fi comic. And the art in that was really super eye-catching, and the coloring in that comic was like makes this look more muted. Like the coloring in that book is just like neons, but it worked. It was a weird. You got to see it. What I found myself in this comic, I was like, and I've said this before when I've talked about this artist, because he also did the Jason Todd book for the White Knight series, that 2-issue
Uh-huh.
spin-off of White Knight Presents Red Hood. He
Yeah,
did the
yeah.
art in that, but he didn't color the whole book. And I made a point of like, man, Simone, when he colors his own stuff, he's way better than when someone else colors him. And here I'm like, okay, cool, he's coloring his own stuff, but it's obvious to me that he's like altering his color, I think, to fit at least an attempt to fit more with like what, to RDV's points, like Gotham is not bright and neon, like, so he's trying to like, this is like muted for him, but
It felt
still
like
too.
Daniel Warren Johnson jumping on here and just like, okay, I liked you in your, Murder Falcon, but Murder Falcon is not Gotham City.
How dare you? I would love
Daniel
to see
Warren
Daniel
Johnson
Warren
does it.
Johnson do Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Daniel Warren Johnson colors his own stuff. I think that's what Spicer does.
Yeah.
But
Man, now that I think about it, I would love to see Daniel Warren Johnson's take
For
on a
real.
Batman-Robin
I
relationship.
would. I would. I just, like I said, I just don't want these bright colors. And like,
Oh, no,
and
fair
we've
enough.
also talked about. Remember with the future state, everything was turning blue and pink.
No, I'm not a big fan of the blue and pink typically either.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
my point is, I typically love his coloring, but I feel like he was altering it to fit a different audience, and I was like, this isn't true. Like, don't alter what your art style. The same thing happened with Jorge Jimenez when he left Justice League to come over and do James Tynion's Batman run. I was like, your art style is not suited to Batman. And he altered his art style to feel more like gritty and stuff, like a Batman book it typically is. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but
Yeah.
now your art style is
So
not as good. Like I miss the old Justice League art style or the Super Sons style that you did.
another thing I noticed going back and reading the early '90s detectives and Batman's, and looking at the art on that, it's like this is very because Batman Robin. They're going for '66 cartoon style because look at a White Rabbit.
Mhm.
She is very very plain Jane, cartoonish compared to being what she was. You usually see her on the cover or stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's why I
she
was
she
saying
looks
it had
more
that Saturday morning cartoon feel of
yeah.
like a Batman and
So
Robin cartoon show.
So, with the other thing though, with Robin and Bruce, this feels more like we're going into a Josh Whedon TV show.
Yeah.
This is what we do on Netflix. If this was Titans, we're gonna get together, we're gonna show them outside of there. And this is Bruce. Can Bruce take on being fatherhood, the one thing he's never done before, versus being Batman? It's
For
like
me,
it just feels really weird.
for me, it's like I don't think that Peter, I'm jumbling up names.
Joshua
Joshua
Williamson.
Williamson, thanks you. I have all these names in my head.
Tom
I don't
King.
think Joshua Williamson, shut up, was nailing the father-son relationship here. To me, when I was reading this,
Yeah.
I felt like Joshua was like, this is what the book calls for. I'm gonna try to do that, but I don't really know what I'm doing as well. So it's him kind of like imitating versus authentic. And so it's like, okay, Josh, I guess you tried, but to me this just feels really forced and not very meaningful. This whole conversation, like this whole breakfast scene, I just was rolling my eyes, and then the conversation of Bruce saying you're going to go to high school just didn't feel meaningful at all. And it wasn't until finally Damien kicks back that I'm like, okay. And look, I didn't hate this book. Did not hate it. If you listen to me for any length of time, people know I'm a hypercritical. That's what we're doing. We're talking about it. I could just say I like the book, move on, but we're here to talk about it, and people listening can agree with me and throw tomatoes at me or whatever. I think the book is overall fine. I think if you're a fan, you're probably gonna like it more than me. Um, I think
Yeah.
I think it does.
So
I
so
think it does what it's supposed to do. It could be way
so
worse.
I want to point out that Demon's personality it doesn't seem like like the Tomasi to me. It seems more like the animated version they had in Justice League versus Teen Titans movie.
Oh
Recently
yeah, it's not
watched it again.
Tomasi at all.
No,
Tomasi's
no.
And so it feels like they just like remember he was like, well, Batman's gonna need humility, so he's like you're basically they had made Nightwing drive him over and drop him off at Titan Tower so he could learn how to be a team player. And Bruce is like, it'd be good to be around kids your age. This feels like he just was watching that movie and says, like, you know what? That'd be kind of cool for a story. Let's do that. Because
I did kind of, and I've forgotten about this. I did kind of like that, Bruce wanting Damien to like have a childhood where like he didn't get to. So, I mean, we can say, oh yeah, he wanted to go, Bruce wants to send him to prep school and be like all these other douches. No, I don't think Bruce sees it that way. I think he sees it as he wants his son to have a chance at a childhood because he blew his years at childhood because he was too busy like stewing and revenge and training and everything. But of course, Bruce being Bruce, he's not going to say that as clearly as I just did though. He's
yeah, but
going to like
let's think
wall
this
himself
through.
up.
Let's think this through. Why didn't Bruce have a childhood? It wasn't just because he was stewing. Bruce was all around the world training to be the world's greatest detective. Right?
Yeah,
he was studying martial arts in like far off East Asia, training under Descartes. Like he was all these like he was putting himself through the most hardcore training ritual so that he could come back and fix Gotham. That's what he was doing. He wasn't just stewing, and he had.
Well, not so
well,
much
hold on.
Gotham, but okay.
Yeah, well, it was no, it's fix Gotham because Bruce is married to Gotham. And sorry, hold on. It was the fact is that Bruce couldn't let himself up for a moment because what he was doing was putting like this was life or death. And I thought Frank Miller, if you read Batman Year One, tells this so brilliantly about when Bruce decides to start being Batman and he gets overconfident and he realizes, like, he gets his ass kicked and he's like, he can't afford to slip up. So now the same Bruce that's learned all these mistakes, who's done all these stuff, gone through his life, is training his son essentially to be like him and step in the same boots that he wears, but also have a normal kid's life. You don't get to do that. You don't get to fight super criminals part-time. Like, this is a full-time thing. It requires your absolute attention, absolute training, and going to public school and having a normal teenage life means hanging out with your bros, playing video games, getting in trouble, going to parties. This is not the lifestyle of someone who runs around with Batman. They can't exist. Furthermore, how do you propose to have teenage friends of your kid running around your house when you're like, it just, none of this stuff makes sense when you think about it through.
Well,
Like,
So,
I
so what
mean,
my thing is, I think is like we're thinking too much into it. I think the next issue, like Damien might go to school, but then like he might start skipping it, and because remember we got Shush coming up too, so I don't think he's gonna end up staying in school. I think that is just kind of what Bruce is because Bruce has no idea
it's not, it's more, it's
what he
not
wants to
even
do.
whether he goes to school or
Bruce,
not. In my opinion, it's more
yeah,
that Bruce is pushing the idea. To me, I
Bruce
go,
is
I don't
because
see
Bruce
Bruce
is
doing
confused
this.
right now. He has no idea
Yes.
how to raise Damien. That's the whole thing. So he thinks it's what Damien does, but he keeps forgetting. If we're an actual good writer, would understand that
Never mind that
Damien
Bruce
doesn't.
has raised 3 other
Damien
kids.
that Damien has friends.
are you saying that Joshua Williamson is not a good writer?
When it comes to Batman,
Joshua Williamson is a good writer. It doesn't mean that everything you write is a home run.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I was just saying
And this
that
book is
I
not
just
bad. I don't want anyone to get the idea that this is a trash book or anything. I'm
it's not a horrible
criticizing a
book.
couple moments that me as a
Yeah.
Batman fan take difference to, right? It's
See,
kind
and
of
that's
like,
the thing with me. Like, I was not a huge Batman fan before last year. I used to joke with Skip all the time that I never read a Batman book in my life, and then DC had me picking up like 3 books with Batman in the title. So
that was
I'm
you and
very
Skip.
very
Yeah.
new to Batman, so it might not. I might have just glossed over some stuff, and it might not have affected. It might not have affected me as much as it
That's
did
what
with you.
happens when you are a new reader to Batman stuff. You may have not read every single thing, so it's like you might get like upset by where Ash has read Tomasi run. He's seen this version, and it's like they're totally ignoring that. And it's like, what the heck, it's and not the knock to say Joshua Williams is a bad writer. It's just that he's told, hey, this is what we're doing. We're ignoring the Tomasi run because maybe DC hates Tomasi. I don't know. But or maybe he just never read it and doesn't have time to read it, and he's being rushed to get a story out. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a numerous factors coming in when you do comic books. So, but then there are those like Megan Fitzpatrick who deliberately say "f you" to the original stuff, won't even bother the research.
and this does feel consistent with how Williamson writes father-son kind of roles. This relationship is actually kind of similar to the relationship in Birthright. The difference here, though, is that we're talking Batman and Robin. I'm not necessarily averse to the relationship that is on the page. It's just, to me, that's not Batman I'm reading. When I see Bruce Wayne talking and I see Damian ripping the tea thing out of his hand and what, like, that's not how you do tea. I'm like, that's not Damian. Like, it just, to me, that doesn't mean that other characters couldn't be that way, that no one should be written that way. But when you're writing comics that have a 80-year legacy, it's different than just characters that you can create on the fly. And Tehillim points this out, that Josh Williamson does have a Bendis fetish for some strange reason. Lots of people in the industry have a Bendis fetish. Bendis is one of these ones who's most guilty of this type of thing, where he just goes, look, I'm not going to try to write these characters as other people. I'm going to just write them how I want to write them. And then they end up not being true to like their thing. And some people are okay with that. Like me and Zach were okay with the with the Constantine movie, and RDV wasn't, because RDV was more of an Constantine fan already. So what he saw on screen didn't match the thing that he was already a fan of. That's kind of what
I
I'm
can't.
experiencing here. I'm like, I'm a fan of this.
That's
I
the one
didn't.
hill that I'll die on with Dalton. The one thing we agree on.
I I did not like Damien until Tomasi. Tomasi converted
Mhm.
me, and I was like, okay, amen to this. And so now I think I'm more invested, because I was like, you are the reason I like this character. Damien went from my most hated Robin to my favorite Robin because of Peter Tomasi. And
And this is
so
not.
it's a little tougher for me. I'm a little bit more sensitive. And again, I don't want anyone to feel like I hate the book. I'm just being critical.
No, it's
Oh,
it, but
yeah.
as I said though, it's like obviously you look at Josh Williamson writing, you look at Zdarsky. Zdarsky went from like, oh, it's great, until became showed up. You know what? I'm a simp for Grant Morrison stuff, and as soon as he started doing that, you could see how it degraded. And you watched like a League of Comic Kids. I pointed out. You watch how many people are liking it and how many people are actually adding to their pull list and stuff. It just decreased, steadily decreased. And honestly, a good writer can can keep his fans. Hopefully Joshua Williamson is able to keep writing good stories, and that's all I want. That's all we ever want. If we're buying books, we want to be entertained. And once you stop entertaining us, we start looking elsewhere, and that's never good. You know,
All right.
obviously you can't please everyone, but
Right. All right. So final
yeah,
final consensus. One or two
I give
sentences.
it
Final thing up. Thoughts on Batman Robin.
I give it a 4 out of 5. My
Okay.
main complaint was the acknowledgement of what's going on in the Gotham War.
All right.
That was my
Zach,
thing.
what about you?
Uh, good, not great. I'm still gonna check out issue 2. You know, it's on the fence. I'm not sure if it'll be on my pull list for the long haul, or if something will happen, you know, in the next couple of issues to turn me off. But this was an all right. This was an entertaining enough first issue.
Okay. My final thoughts on this was it's fine. A little bit too much style with too little substance. Feels a little shallow for me. I wish there was more to it rather than just sort of like going through motions and simulating family drama that isn't really drama at all. Could be better, but doesn't actually break anything. All right.
On to the next one.
Next, we're going to talk about a book that's probably not very popular. I don't imagine many people see a book like this on the comic book shelves and pick it up. I have to admit, even though I was a subscriber to that Texas Blood, this is a spinoff, I was one of those people. But it was Eric Breen whose comments made me rethink it and gave it a try, and I'm really glad I did, because I think this is one of the best comics on the shelf. Um, and so if you're like me and you go, I don't like westerns as comics, I may not even like westerns, period. I don't know, but or what have you. If you just go, this book does not. It's worth a shot, I think. It's a really good western. I really like the first issue, and I think I'm not sure that the second issue is better than the first issue as individual comparisons, but I think the second issue made the first issue even better. Like, I think it's where it's developing into a better story. Very much a fan of this. Also a fan of this covers, as RDV um, has shown off. He's got these are uh, what do you call
connecting
them?
covers.
Connecting covers. So the first
So
issue would be on the left, and it actually is
yeah,
Enfield. You can see kind of his
yeah.
back here. Um, the next issue is also going to be connecting cover, appearing to the right, as we'll see what the cover is when we get to the end of this book. So I really think that's cool. I also like that they're not doing that as an incentive and having you to chase down and make it a pain in the ass. Like, everyone who buys the book is the A covers, you're going to get the
It,
connecting covers.
I
yeah,
like
it's not.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I Walking Dead Deluxe, man. I find out, oh, these cover C connects. I'm like, ah, you guys, really?
Yeah.
It's-
So
so
I like this painted art on the covers here. I think is really befitting the Western motif. Um, man, someone is gonna get this. Like, this is gonna be. I know this is like an original art piece, as one big art piece. Like, someone's gonna own that, and it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
This is another fun thing. I'm a big fan. If you're an old time comic collector like me who remembers comics on newsprint, one of the funnest things about comics were the ads. Believe it or not. Nowadays, people complain about ads in comics, but ads were cool in comics. And part of the reason I think people like facsimile editions is because they reprint all of the old school ads in there. And
Yep.
here, I think it was just kind of cool that they do fake ads with the credits
For
page,
guns.
but with the
I like
guns.
how it also doubles as the opening credits too.
Right. Yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
I always wonder if that was the price of a gun back in the day. 1800s, $4.
Right? Could be. Um,
More
so chapter 2, pinned down. So if you haven't been following, I'm not going to really give a synopsis. This is a true story, which I find very interesting. It's a true story that conflicts with the historical record. Chris Condon, the writer, is a Texan. I think that's why he decided to write that Texas Blood. He talks about in the first issue about how in Texas people are more acquainted with their history than in other parts of the country, and so he's actually like from this region, and he did a bunch of research. And the Enfield gang massacre is a real thing, and the history books record it in a certain way. And according to his research, however, he believes that it didn't necessarily go down exactly as we were told, which is a lot of things like in history are actually that way.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Texans are particularly stubborn about that, though. My mom's from Texas, so I've heard this a lot.
But I find it interesting that he talks about this as an exploration of history through the telling of story. And he talks about that at the end of the book. But so this is Enfield, and this is his wife, and apparently this is a weird scene, like some sort of dream is happening. That
a nightmare, I think.
It's like, yeah, it appears like she's having a nightmare. It's not real clear when you're reading it at first, though. And she's being woken up, and so it's Enfield.
The only thing I could say about the nightmare is maybe she's having thoughts about because she's married to an outlaw.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. She's definitely. It's what I find interesting though is that the book doesn't tell you, and I really appreciate that from an artistic standpoint. Is let the readers interpret, right? Like, I hate when things are overly explained to you and there's no room for interpretation. And so I really appreciated that Condon tells this, and I walk away. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. I don't know, but I like that I have to think about it. Wait, what's going on here? Is it a real storm? Who's this guy with the? I don't know. And then you get to this scene here, and she's being shaken awake, and it seems pretty clear that was what she was dreaming before, and it's her husband, which is Enfield, and he's all bloody and stuff, and she's like, what's going on? You're hurt? You hear me? You need to go. Are you shot? I can get Danny. Amy, when I tell you to do something, you goddamn better do it. And I asked you a goddamn question. Are you hurt? Just the dialogue here is just so like authentic feeling. And he goes over, washes his face.
It ain't my blood, woman.
It ain't my blood. And then we cut back to the scene that ended in the last book, where the Texas Marshal
Sam Elliott has hunted him down.
Sam Elliott's hunted him down. And man, this Texas Ranger guy is awesome because he's kind of like this old retired man. He's just like, oh, I don't want to get involved in any of this stuff, and then shit happens, and he's like, okay, there's gonna be blood, and he went from like this old passive dude to like, oh, you really were a badass back in the day, weren't you?
It's very Tarantino from Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
The sheriff. Yeah.
I've never been able to finish that movie, but I need to try again because I do like Tarantino.
I love the series more.
So the last book ended where he walked into the bar and he's just shooting. That top panel is kind of the end of the book, so you didn't know what happened. So it turns out that he fired a warning shot. He's like, there's a warning shot. Come quietly, and you be hanged for the killing of Barley and Chick Webb. or go down in Hades here and now. And Enfield's buddy looks at him and winks. It's okay. Um, he says, "That's 3 of your party that's taking a bullet tonight. We can make it 4. So what'll it be, Enfield? Another warning shot to get you moving. You murdering son of a bitch." And I just love how he's wearing the kind of the tropey kind of poncho that we saw from a Fistful of Dollars, that
Yep.
Man with No Name kind of made famous, which of course conceals you drawing your guns. And he pulls out both guns. I was hoping you'd say something foolish like that. And it just boom, it goes down, and like the book just immediately goes into gunfight. And you're just like, holy crap. And this, by the way, DC Comics, is what's worthy of a full page spread. Not your opening credit page. This. Sorry, I had to make a statement. We get a nice shootout, and people are just getting massacred. This is not a good this is not a good thing.
Wait. Do you see people get massacred in the Enfield Massacre?
Yes, that's what's happening in the Enfield Gang Massacre comic. People are getting massacred. It is not fake advertising.
And I love this part because whenever there's a Western, there's always somebody has dynamite.
There's always someone that's got dynamite. And he's like, the hell you say, McGavin? Any bright ideas to get us out of this mess? One has sprung to mind. You got fire? And just look at his face. He's just like kind of that shit-eating grin, like, yeah, memento mori. Yeah, just uno momento, Baldy. And he stands up to throw it, then he gets gunned down, takes 2 to the chest, but he throws the dynamite, lands at their feet. Hey, look at me. You're going to be all right. Well, they're not. And they look down. Get down. Boom. Now, here's a moment of time where artistic liberty can be appreciated, because a stick of dynamite does not blow up like this, contrary to popular belief.
At this
But
point,
for dramatic,
car insurance.
but for dramatic effect, this is something you need to do. Because the point is it kills people. But so the dynamite blows up. The bar's on fire. They need to escape. Their buddy's dead. You can see there's like a moment of kind of lament here of like, we got to leave him. And they take off. We cut back over to the flashback, and when they have to leave. Sorry, that was the flashback. Now we're back to the present time. As is like, I just left him there. Left them both. Came right to warn you. You have to warn everybody. Tell them what's coming. They respect you. They expect you to lead them. Amy, I ain't asking. I know. And neither am I. And I love how they're portrayed as lovers, but it's not like soapy, kind of fakey, over the top romantic. It's just you kind of get the sense that these are 2 people who are together, and they're one, and they're not like they love each other, and they will do anything for each other. They're a team, and it doesn't take any explanation. You see 3 panels, boom, you get that information, you just move on. That it's like, okay, that's a good woman standing by his side, right when all the shit's going down. She's not sitting there going like, I can't believe you, like bitching at him and doing all this stuff. It's like, I'm here by your side, and she gives lets him know, neither am I.
You mean it's not like Bird on a Wire?
So Enfield walks out into their little I don't know what you call this, like a town there where they all like hole up. He's firing off his gun. Blam, blam, blam. Everybody, I know it's late and I know you're sleeping. It all seems quiet and calm, but the law's coming down on us hard, and they ain't discriminating. Clear out, you hear me? So he's trying to warn everyone, and they're like coming out of bed and yawning. What's going on? Hang on there, Enfield. And this is where we start to get introduced to the rest of his gang, because we haven't been really introduced to his gang before, because the first comic was all about just him, and he robs a bank, and there's a whole different part of the story. And so this is interesting. I've always taken like the female outlaws to be kind of the tropey type of thing, but this is a real woman, and it's fun to see this being like these are like thinking of these are real characters, real people. And
You ever played Red Dead Redemption at all? Where you
yeah,
have the rancher, she
yeah,
helps him
yeah,
out. She's
yeah,
always kind of the smarter thing. They kind of get that in this one too, a little bit, since
yeah. Um, but I don't. When I read this, I don't take this as like, oh, the trope. You got to have the token female. To me, this
no.
is real. Like this was she was a real person. And apparently she's a badass. There's a historical record apparently where she doesn't carry guns. She only carries knives. She's a knife
Cool.
fighter, and
She's expendable.
so there's a real historical tale about how some guy, other male outlaw, challenged her to a duel, and he brought guns. She brought knives. The old saying, "Don't bring knives to a gunfight." Well, she beat him with knives. She, a woman, beat a man, and I was like, wow, I want to know about that story. Um, anyways, um, so he's having to explain what's going on, and then they look over in the barn and something's going on. Someone's got a cigarette burning or something. It's like, ah, there's someone in there. Is it them? Only one way to find out. So he's going on, hey, what's going on? And he finds out there's uh, one of the other gang guys there has got a shit-eating grin. Probably has been drinking. I was just couldn't sleep well. Excuses, excuses. This is gonna help you sleep tonight. And sees a bunch of money stored up in his saddlebags. So it looks like clearly he was gonna run off in the night with his money. And he's like, well, here's a gun. Make yourself useful. Everyone's getting ready, and all of a sudden, some horses are charging in. What's going on? And it's clop, clop, clop. No rider. Strange. It's dragging something. Whoa, whoa, settle. What's a dragon? And we see the two dead bodies. So you remember the beginning, the ranger was like, there was already two. There's those two. And it has them, the horses, spooked and running home and just dragging the bodies. And this is like obviously a clear intimidation method.
Yeah.
And so you can see now from the vantage point that, and you can see the posse. Well, seems like they got our message. Good. First person to show themselves, kid. And looks down, kid with the rifle. What about him? Shoot him. It's just, there's just something about like the no nonsense law enforcement of the Old West that is just, I don't think we need that today. Like, I don't want cops just like shoot them, but in the world of fictional, well, this is a fictional story based on a true story, but you know what I'm saying? Like, in stories, it's fun to read, and I just love the no nonsense that it has to be. And then, so that's the end of this issue. Now, in this book, and this continues, there was the Texas record, and this is the account of the actual Enfield gang massacre. They've had part of it in issue 1, they had part of it in issue 2. Now, I know this is a big giant wall of text, but I went through and read it. It's a bit dry. This is definitely something written for people that are actually really into history, but I did take the time to read it because I want to know more. And this is where I learned about you learn about the gang. And there's some characters we haven't even been introduced to yet. And so starting here on page 2, last paragraph, the knife-wielding Rose Delford had made a name for herself as Wild West as Pretty Poison, long before her association with Enfield. She kept her true origins to herself, but had floated around from state to state and territory to territory. She was famous for her refusal to wear a gun belt and instead elected to use a collection of deadly knives that she had collected. Her most famous and oft-repeated exploit involved a duel with famed gunman Killer Jack Jones, wherein she entered the duel without the aid of a pistol and remarkably won. West describes her as feisty but fair in his journal, but doesn't go into detail beyond that. And so there's a lot more that you can read. Hopefully you'll get into the comic. At the last page, bear with me one more moment. Texas Telegrams is, just settle down. You'll be all right. Texas Telegrams is presumably the letters page. I don't have any yet. But Chris writes about his thanks to people still reading the book and everything. There you go. We get some alternate covers. I like when they include that. Also a little bit of insight to how the scripting works for the book. And then we get this is the cover for the next issue, so you can see the connecting cover. This is Rose that I just talked
So
about.
it looks like
So
they have a Patreon link. The previous page you just showed.
yeah, Patreon
Yeah,
link. If you
that's
if
kind of cool.
you're more interested in that, here you go. Patreon/Condon Phillips.
That's cool. You get newsletters, mini prints, podcasts, signed comics.
Yeah, it seems like the equivalent of the Substack that other
Yeah.
people are doing. Patreon is a similar thing. I encourage you check that out if you're liking this. Now,
So
I've already spoiled my feelings about the book. Um, I was going to start off with Zach, but RDV, you sound
go ahead.
really chomping at the bit. So I
Well,
want to,
I was just complaining about that last page where the text is like they need more indentation, more spaces in between the paragraphs.
yeah,
It's a
it's a
nightmare.
it's a small like. I mean, that magazine was probably written for like 50 people or something. I don't, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like the
I know.
what was the name of
But
it? I forget.
so
It was
I,
I'm trying to get. It's called the Texas Record, issue
yeah,
87, August 1966. Like
I'm just like,
who's reading this?
yeah, and who's typing without freaking paragraphs?
Those are.
It's
I
like
did notice that too. I was like, these are big paragraphs. Um,
anyway, so what I like about this whole entire issue in the book so far is that you're getting the classic spaghetti western tropes.
oh,
You
so
got
much.
you got the guy. You look at it. You got the guy who thinks he's a coward. He's gonna run on with the stuff with the money, and probably not just his loot, all of their loots. He gathered up all of their valuables in the town, pretty much much as he could. And he's gonna hunker up because he doesn't want to get killed. He doesn't want to fight. He's a coward, probably.
Yeah.
And so it's always a common thing. Said you got the bickering old couple. She probably runs the saloon. As far as I don't know if she does or what. But I mean, you got the sheriff, the ranger, who's basically pissed off because the reason he is, you saw what happened to the bank teller in the first issue, how he sprung up like on a cross or something like that. He was gutted and all that stuff. It was horrific. So he wants to bring this guy to justice. He's got a moral obligation. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think these guys are just he hates the fact how Enfield and stuff are just like laughing. He thinks that they're in like he thinks they're messed up. And the only way he says they don't deserve jail. He wants them to basically to die.
Yep.
Because we still don't know who killed like the guy in the first issue, but you got the classic tropes in here. I love that the whole here's the gunfight in the bar in the saloon. The old guy, I got dynamite. Here, I'll throw, and then he gets shot instantly. It's like you got the old lady running upstairs. You got the people running away. Like, oh crap, It is. I just love it. You pointed out he's got the Michael J. Fox spaghetti western, kind of like it's Clint Eastwood wear too. It is just, and even Enfield's like, oh crap, the dynamite, because everyone's like, dynamite is explosive. You never know what's gonna happen.
No, that's not Enfield. That's
no. The guy next to Enfield up there, he's like, and he is probably one of those guys. He's kind of like, I get the impression he's kind of like Patrick, the SpongeBob.
Yeah.
He's not really the guy. He sees the action. Enfield is the one who's probably one of the leaders that goes out and does stuff. These guys are kind of like, oh, I like Enfield. He's a great guy. We like SpongeBob, He's not the guy who usually gets involved. He's not the planner. But, man, and then the whole dragging the horses in. As soon as I saw the horses, I figured that's what's going on. Because I was like, you need a diversion, and the fact that this guy found out exactly where they live, right away so fast is really was really convenient. I wonder how far they are from the saloon. Probably not that far. But yes, I just everything spaghetti western, the comedy, the bullets flying. You got the classic trope characters. Literally, this feels like an early 1960s Hollywood kind of movie. But
I would take
get off
this
the
even
Zach.
further. I think this goes beyond the spaghetti westerns. My favorite western of all time is movie Unforgiven. Have you seen that?
I've seen Unforgiven.
With
Wasn't a
Clint
huge
Eastwood,
fan. Yeah, it wasn't. Wait, no,
Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman.
that's the one with. I'm thinking that's the one with Morgan Freeman.
I don't think Morgan Freeman's in that movie. Unforgiven.
Morgan
Clint
Freeman.
Eastwood is an old retired gunfighter. He settled
And teams
down.
up with the black guy, Morgan Freeman, for one last run. Yep.
He might be in it, but I'm not remembering. It's been a while since I've seen it.
I
But
wasn't a huge fan of Unforgiven. I was more Tombstone.
And Gene Hackman plays the law in the town.
Yep. Morgan Freeman. Yep.
And then he finds out that Clint Eastwood is this old gunfighter, but he's been long retired, and then turns out like the law is kind of more corrupt than the outlaw, and it's such a great dynamic. And then there's like a final gunfight at the end, and that's my favorite Western of all time. I mean, Tombstone's great too, just totally different style. This book feels to me like Unforgiven. It just has that same level of gravitas and seriousness, and just this feels more like a dark drama. Like Tombstone feels like a Hollywood fun, different tone.
Well, this has comedy in as well. You can't deny the guy who's kind of like, oh, I was just gonna I was rounding up the loot,
Yeah, but it's more like it doesn't feel like it's comedy, like it's where it's written to be comical, but rather
No,
that
Yeah.
sometimes
it's
real
dra- it's
life
drama.
is
It's drama
just
with
funny.
it's drama with comedy thrown here, peppered. Not always there, but it's it pops up. You know what I mean? It's not.
Mhm.
It's not like the Django Unchained.
Well, like this scene here just
Yeah.
made me feel the same things I felt in Unforgiven, where the horses are running in, and they're like, What's that?" And it's like the dead people, and it's like, oh, um, and the badass law enforcement is very much similar to Gene Hackman's character. Anyways, I love that movie. The other thing is, I'm a huge fan of Clint. That was the movie that made me a fan of Clint Eastwood as a director. And I liked what you
I
said about how this guy is not a bad, like he's not necessarily
Yeah.
a bad guy. And there's another movie that Clint Eastwood directed that should have got Best Picture, in my opinion. I don't know if you've ever seen, called Mystic River.
didn't see that. I've seen Outlaw Josie Wales. The
Mystic
Pale
River's
Rider.
not
Yeah.
a Western, but it has a similar themes in the sense of people making decisions of violence against other people based on what they think they know. And
Well,
so
that was yeah.
this Texas Ranger is out for blood, not because he's just a evil person who wants blood, but because he saw something that triggered him. In his mind, he is convinced that Enfield is the reason that happened, and so in his mind, he's going to get blood. And that's very much I won't spoil Mystic River for anyone, but
Yeah.
Mystic River has themes like that, where these characters do things, and by the end of the movie, they're like, anyways, a really
Yeah.
powerful movie. I love it. I don't know where this book is going to go, but it makes me think like that. I would love to
But
see Clint Eastwood direct
Hang
this as a movie.
Hang 'em High was another one. Another one with the Clint Eastwood. It was probably a little bit of comedy in it too. So,
What about you,
but
Zach? Let's give Zach some time to weigh in on this.
Yeah, so I read the first issue I think it was at your recommendation. First one was okay. I felt it was a little too much talking, not a ton of action. This one I definitely preferred. I definitely like this one compared to the first issue. The way it starts off, there's of course there's the wife that has the whole dream sequence, but then when he I actually like the way this whole thing opens. I think this would be like a great opening if this was like a movie or a television show. It's like when he goes like, the blood's not mine, and then it just flashes back to him in the saloon, and right off the bat, his friend, I think it's Bloom, is his name. You find out that he got shot, and the ranger calls it a warning shot, which that ranger is like bad mother, because he's killed three of the dude's friends, three of his three guys in total, and he just calls them warning shots. So it's like, dude, a little too hardcore here. You need to call,
Yes.
because when you read the first issue, he's like he's like such a pacifist. He's like, I don't want to do nothing. I wasn't invited to do nothing. I'm just gonna stand here and I'm just gonna be peaceful. And then as soon as, like you were saying, as soon as he thinks that Enfield is the bad guy, that he's like this psycho murderer. As soon as he thinks that, he's like, okay, well, I'll kill him then, or I'll bring him in.
Yeah.
I love the whole shootout in the saloon. I'm a huge Western fan. I grew up watching like John Wayne Westerns. Like I said, my mom's from Texas, and she really leans hard into that whole Texas Western stereotype type of person. So we just grew up watching Westerns and Bonanza and all that, and seeing shootouts in saloons. Like it just felt like watching in one of those old John Wayne movies. It was a lot of fun. I liked it when that guy threw out the dynamite stick. I was like, dude, I barely even met you, and I like you, like, because he gets shot, he goes down right after he throws the dynamite. The colors, the artwork. I feel like we're not talking enough about Jacob Phillips' artwork, because it is really, really good. As young as he is, to have this art style, you can see little hints of his dad, of Sean Phillips' art in this, which if you've read any of Ed Brubaker's books, good chance that Sean Phillips was the artist. And so this is his son. And yeah, the art style here it's really, really close. I think he's probably going to grow some more as an artist. He's going to like mature, he's going to develop a few more skills, but the colors, the way it goes along with the line art, I like it a lot. The striking, like that panel we have right there where it's like when his friend first gets shot, just seeing like how bright and visceral the blood is on his face and their clothes. It's really, really, really good stuff. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's well said.
yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up because we oftentimes, sometimes, either it's because we just take it for granted or we don't know, we get caught up mostly like on the story and criticizing the writing or whatever. But you're right, the art in this is
Yeah.
phenomenal. And one thing I want to point out too regarding the art is, notice in this book, most comics run about an average 5 to 7 panels per page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Western
Yeah, this
comics.
one. Yeah,
This
yeah.
comic is full of like, your full page, 3 panels, 3 panels, 3 panels, 3,
Mm-hmm.
2-page spread, 3.
Yeah.
So when you do that, there's a couple of things to consider. Number one, from the writing standpoint, um, it gives you less space to work with to tell your story, which
Right.
oftentimes means putting more word balloons and stuff in the book to tell, because but the writer Chris Condon doesn't do that. Actually, he uses much less. But two is, it puts the writer's art more on display, because the bigger your panels are, the more detail you need in those panels. So oftentimes artists can get away with these small panels, which sometimes, if you've seen me blow those small panels up and they look really terrible, because they sometimes is like people with no faces and stuff. But here, every panel, like, he's got to get the detail, the faces and the expressions just right, because he's not he doesn't get to hide behind small little thumbnail panels, you know. And so
I
I
also
think that
like that.
that's very bold as an artist to like say, "Hey, I don't need to hide. I'm good." Go ahead.
I also like, because most westerns, like at least the ones that I've seen, they're not very dialogue heavy films. At least the good ones are. Like
Right.
the actions, the scenery, like a lot of it speaks for itself. So I appreciate that carries over into this. You have your scenes where people are chatty, or where they might be talking a good bit, because you do have to have some exposition. You do have to have those character interactions, but it's not word balloons covering like half the page.
Right.
So yeah, and I like another trope. While we're talking about, I heard RDV mention tropes. Something, if you've watched westerns, a common trope that you'll notice is that the good guy always wears a white hat. The bad guy typically wears a black hat. So I like how, even though Texas Ranger guy, technically you could say he's the good guy, quote unquote, because he's going after these, criminals, even though we know Einfeld, or we believe right now that Einfeld isn't the one that strung the
Enfield.
bank teller up. Enfield. I keep wanting to say
He's
Enfield.
not a
I don't
German.
know why. I know. I'm like super dyslexic with this guy's name.
It's okay.
Although there were a lot of German immigrants in the
That's
Old
true.
West, but yeah, he's technically a good guy, but for the purposes of the story, he is the antagonist. So I do like that kind of a twist. You know, it's like, yeah, he's technically, as far as the law is concerned, I guess he's a good guy, but as far as Enfield is concerned, yeah, it's tragically for him because he was about to give up this whole life of crime thing, and
Yep.
then this ranger shows up out of the blue and starts gunning down his gang. So, but anyway, I really enjoyed the second issue. The first one was good. Like I said, it just felt a little too much talk and not enough show. This one definitely, puts more show into it, and I love the ending as well. The cliffhanger. You see how cold and kind of calculated the ranger is. He's like using these horses, using his dead friends' bodies as bait to draw him out. I like that as well. Just kind of shows the coldness of this guy.
Yeah.
So, okay, now I'm done.
No, good points that you made. Dominic Powell reminds me that Morgan Freeman confirmed was in Unforgiven, and now that I'm having myself be reminded and I'm stretching my
I told you.
memory, I do remember Morgan being in part of the film. He doesn't have a huge role in the film, and I think that's why I kind
He
of
goes
forgot.
up to him. He asks him to join him, and Morgan Freeman's like, I don't want to. But then eventually, Morgan Freeman
Yeah.
does take along with him. They ride into town together, and they
Yeah.
come across that kid. They pull him out.
So, but thank you, Dominic, and welcome for being here. Rhaegar's here. He says he likes how they are standing in the open and shooting and not taking cover. I'm not sure if Rhaegar's saying that sarcastically or what.
No, he's talking about the sheriff. Like, look at the sheriff where he is on the left side. The sheriff doesn't care. The sheriff doesn't care. Or not the sheriff, ranger doesn't care. The other guys are kind of ducking.
Well, this is again where I go back to Unforgiven. If you've seen the movie, there's a part in the film where Eastwood's character talks about in a gunfight, the winner is often the one who can remain calm and hit his target and not, because when people are shooting at you and you're more worried about getting hit and stuff, that's why you can't hit your targets. And I like how this covers that. Look at this guy on the left with the shotgun. He's like shooting up. The guy to his right, look at him. He's like cowering and like bending over and trying to shoot, and he's shooting way off target too. It's only the ranger who's intent. He's faced death before. He can, and even the gang members are like, and those guys diving over the bar. So is this artistic liberty?
Shooting.
Is this artistic liberty? Sure, there's got to be some level of dramatic effect, but there's a little bit of truth in there as well that when you're shooting and that the people you're shooting at probably are less likely to hit you because they're so panicked and don't have courage under fire, so to speak. I think that's what they're trying to tell here. Plus, this is a snapshot of like a millisecond in time that we're looking at. Obviously, we clearly see this guy's jumping over the bar. People are moving. So, I mean, it doesn't sit here for like 10 minutes where they're just shooting at each other, he says, why did they start shooting? Did someone give the sheriff a sauce that was made of New York City? Oh my gosh, now you're trolling. He started shooting because the ranger just shot his friend as a warning shot. And he's like, boom, shoots it. Looks over.
The way he says, like, it's okay, like, as his last words, like, barely even know the guy, but dang, it's like, you could tell, like, there was, like, a deep friendship or something there. It was crazy.
Well, in the first issue, they sat down. They're talking to each other about how you need to give up.
You're right. I forgot about. He was because that was the friend that was talking to him, and he was like, I think they were talking about doing what they need to survive. But then Enfield was like, yeah, but we could have survived another way or something along those lines. You're right.
Well, and remember, Enfield was going to give up. Like, there's a whole thing about the bank robbery in the first one. he was actually considering going back and taking that guy up on his offer because Enfield doesn't seem like a violent guy. And he's
Yeah.
starting to realize that he's got to kind of do something. He can't live this outlaw life forever. And he has this good conversation with this guy, kind of talks some sense into him. And now he gets shot. And I mean, just this little balloon over here is like, oh, you know, and Enfield's like shock on his face. This is the face of a man who's like, I can't believe it's come to this. Like, I was robbing banks and I never intended on shooting anyone, and I ran off with the money and stuff, but this shit just got real and my friend just got shot. And he's like, Bloom, this is a man in shock. This panel is amazing to me. And then you just listen off camera, the Ranger, that there's a warning shot. Come quietly and be hanged for the killing of Barley and Chick Webb, or go down to Hades here and now. Like, it's just so bone chilling, like cold.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is like hearing that as his friend. Again, this is a snapshot. He's still standing, but presumably he's in the process of collapsing dead. Or not yet. He's gonna wink first. He's like, "It's okay," and winks at him. And now,
Yeah.
as the time sets in, he has time to process what's happening. And he's like, "You murdering son of a bitch!" Like, we get to see the rage. Like, this guy has been stirred up. Like, he never wanted any of this, and
Right.
this guy's brought it. And now the lawman is like, I was hoping you'd say something foolish like that. Like, he goaded him into this.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
and to
Yeah, because
RDV's point, neither one of them's
technically,
neither one of them's really the villain, but they've both
Right.
made each other enemies because of their own perception of the world. They're on either side
well,
of it.
and the
Right.
Ranger just wants to murder him because he believes what happened to that man. He's never seen that before. And he
Right.
said, only a demonic
Yeah.
man would do that, so he's gonna put him down.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So
see, that's the
again,
thing.
that's
He
his
takes that.
perception of the
Yeah.
world. His perception is
right.
that Enfield is this demon that needs to be put down. And Enfield's perception is that this dude is just a corrupt lawman who doesn't deserve to wear a badge, just killed his best friend for no freaking good reason, right? So Enfield's, from his perception, Enfield's justified. From the Rangers' perception, he's justified, but neither of them are seeing the world for what it truly is. They're seeing it from their perception, and that's why they're
Right.
enemies. It's
Yep.
it's really fantastic storytelling. And
It
I'm a
really is. I
huge
wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did.
I'm a huge proponent of like black and white storytelling. I like the good guys to be good and the bad guys to be bad, and just I like those kind of stories. Star Wars is my favorite fiction of all time, the original Star Wars. And I love that Lucas, probably that's why I'm informed that way. His idea was like the bad guys are bad, the good guys are good. There's no gray middle. And I take umbrage on this fact of modern day Star Wars storytelling because there's so much people wanting to introduce like, oh, let's make let's have gray side story. Like, no, but it's not because I don't like that as that can be told. Here's a good example of how to tell stories of the gray, where no one's really good, no one's really bad. This is how you tell those stories. So I'm
Like,
really
you
shocked.
have good and bad, but it's like, again, it's all just depending on the circumstance. Like how, I Enfield is, technically, yeah, the law considers him a bad guy, but I mean, he's like on friendly terms, so to speak, with the bank teller in the first issue. Like, the bank teller offers him a job. Like, yeah, you can tell he's not like this violent, stereotype of a bank robber. And on the other hand, this ranger guy, he seems nice enough, but then you find out like this dude he'll f you up if he thinks you're a criminal or something. So yeah, I really do enjoy this. This is another great comic recommendation from Ash and Mr. Breen.
Yeah, Mr. Breen is the big reason I can't take any credit. Like I said, I was gonna give this a pass because I don't think I've ever read a really good Western comic.
What would you count, Pulp?
No,
From Ed Brubaker?
I mean Pulp
No?
is amazing. I don't count it as a Western because while there are flashbacks into the West, it does have Western elements in
I
it,
guess it.
but it takes
Yeah.
place in the 30s.
I get
I
what
w-
you're saying.
I
Yeah.
would say if you're looking for a Western, American Vampire.
Yeah, I guess American Vampire.
But the good first chunk of it is it's a Western guy, cowboy. Was
Yeah,
been
I,
around
I read
since
that. I read that arc with you. That
yeah.
was. I didn't like it as much as you did. It was fine. It wasn't, but it wasn't great from my perspective. This is the best Western comic I've ever read. Plus, American Vampire is. I feel like it's more of a vampire book. It was. It did take place in the Old West, but it was.
Yeah.
When you put
But
vampires in it, all of a sudden it's no longer a Western.
Sweet Tooth was an outlaw.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
No,
you
it
know,
took place
and
in the
then
West. But when you
but the
start
guy
adding fantasy elements, it no longer is a Western to me.
well, no. Well, my point is that he originally was an outlaw. The guy hunting him down, he had someone hunting him down,
Yeah,
just
it
like
was.
this. But then because he got bit, he gave him the upper advantage. Then the guy got bit, so basically it was a supernatural Western.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Uh,
But even
but
then,
I do,
the
yeah, yeah.
most Westerns don't even live up to that standard, as far as that I've
No.
read. So this I was just kind of like, well, it's a Western, whatever. But this is amazing. This might be the best comp. Well, no, Animal Castle's still the best comic I'm getting. This is number 2,
But
but
I'm
they're
still
real
liking
good.
so far. I'm liking this better than Criminal.
Ooh.
Well, this isn't a Brubaker book, so can you
I know.
really compare it?
Yeah, of course you can.
Well,
I mean,
compared to Brubaker, yeah. I mean, it's as I forget who the writer is, but I think it's Connor or something or
this is
Corden.
Chris Condon writes this.
Chris Condon. Breen points out you can tell that Condon's been a really big study at Brubaker.
Yeah.
And also with Jacob Phillips, watching his dad. He said he said as an art goes, he says he's better than his dad was at this age.
I will say it's too early for me to say it's better than Brubaker.
I'm not saying
But-
all Brubaker, but I'm saying Criminal though. Criminal is
Criminal
one
is
book.
like one of the best things that he's done.
Yeah,
I
say Criminal Volume 2.
ooh.
I still like Criminal. Criminal Volume 2 had the brother getting revenge.
I'm gonna wait
on
until
the
this
gang
is.
that kills-
I'm gonna wait
yeah.
till this is complete, but I will agree
But
with you
so
that
far.
this is entered into that realm, which is extremely high praise because I often talk about Ed Brubaker as operating on a different level. Like he's playing major leagues when the rest of the industry is playing minor leagues. So
Yep.
the fact that I can even put this book in comparison is huge credit. And I will say there have been things that Brubaker has written. While all of his stuff is good, I don't think Brubaker's everything I've written from him is better than this. So this is
For part, yeah.
this is the best thing that I read from Chris Condon. This is better than that Texas Blood.
So I really love Red Dead Redemption, the first one, not the sequel. I like the one with James.
The first one
James
is a
Marsden.
work of art.
Yeah, I love the story in that, and I'm kind
Amazing.
of digging the art in this too. It's really great to see another Western thing. I mean, it makes me realize how much I just hated the sequel.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is the best one.
It's a prequel to the sequel.
Yeah, but it's it's a better game.
No.
Oh,
It might be a
The
better.
original
It
one?
might be a better game, but
But the story sucked
but
compared to
Red Dead Redemption
yeah.
1 is a work of art. That no game has ever brought a tear to my eye. I played Red Dead Redemption 1.
Also, the second one made it so you can't sleep with prostitutes anymore. So they started censoring it. They made it more open world. Yes.
Good Lord.
Here I am appreciating the
That's
terrific.
what we're judging the games on.
I'm sitting here. I'm here judging
the game on story. James Marsden is much more interesting than
You're
playing.
just talking
Arthur
about sleeping
Morgan.
with prostitutes.
No, but I'm just saying. In the sequel, it started getting a little bit more woke
Oh.
because the game starts censoring stuff because people complained, and it put a damper on the story for me.
Okay, I did not. We had totally different experiences then, I guess.
Which game did you play first? Did you play?
I played them in the order they came out. I played Red Dead Redemption 1, and then when 2 came out, I played 2. If you play 2 all the way through, guess what? You get to play as James Marsden again.
Yeah, at the very, very end, but it's nothing
Yeah.
like the original.
Well,
So-
the original, you get to the very end and James Marsden dies, and so then you get to play as his son. It's the same thing. Whereas if you play all the way through to the end, you get to play as another character.
I don't know. I'm not gonna get in this argument. You like what you like.
Zach
I like
Zach
what I like.
didn't go around murdering prostitutes, so when they took that out of the game, he wasn't missing anything.
I didn't play the GTA way, I guess. Yeah.
I'm just saying I like the whole train robbing the train and stuff with James Marsden. Try to stop the other gang.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant game. Red Dead Redemption
we
is.
we all like this.
But
We
I don't
do,
fault
we
Red
all-
Dead Redemption 2, which is a fine game, because Red Dead Redemption 1 is like top of the mountain. Like if you
I don't even call it Red Dead Redemption 2. I call it prequel because that's what it is.
well, whatever, who cares?
It's not a
Like,
sequel, so go call it 2. It should be 0.
it's the second game.
No, but it's a prequel to the first game.
So
Moving
So-
along.
I'm just saying.
lots of
Numbers out of order.
movies are prequels. Like, yeah.
They have flashbacks. I'm just saying.
No, there's lots of movies that come out afterwards from the first one that are prequels that happened
We're
before.
calling it Aquaman 2, but it's actually not even the second one. It's It's pre-Aquaman, before he was called Aquaman. So, like I said, it screws up the watch order, the play order. So people are like, "Oh, I'll play the first one," and they're late. The other one's a sequel. Technically, you should play the Arthur Morgan one first.
No,
You know what I mean? I don't like when it
prequels
does
are
some of that.
designed to be consumed out of order. Like that's why it's called a
I
prequel.
don't. Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, it's fine. You don't
I
have
don't
to
like
like it. I'm
prequels.
just telling you what it is. Like
I hate
You-
prequels.
you
Son of
choosing
a
not to
bitch.
like it, that's on you. Rhaegar says Zach is probably like me. I find it incredibly difficult to play GTA and be a villain in games. Actually, GTA doesn't appeal to me at all. Rhaegar, I was kind of like that too. I had been trying to get into GTA since GTA 3 came out and became like a phenomenon, and everyone's like, "Oh," and then everyone's like, "You can get with hookers," and I was like, "Oh, that's appealing." Like I don't get it.
Well, I'm
And-
just,
and
I'm just
I-
saying they started censoring stuff like that. Little
I'm not
things
talking
here and
about
there,
that.
you know, just-
You don't need to
About that.
defend
We're
that.
talking about GTA.
I'm
I
talking.
know,
So
I know, but I'm just even GTA's been censored a little bit more.
can I talk about my experience? I'm not accusing you of
No,
anything.
no one wants to hear the old man.
I don't
He's
think
not
we
here.
hear it.
So but it wasn't until GTA 5. GTA 5 I highly recommend. That's one of the best games I've ever played. GTA 5 is
Vice
I
City's
think
the
Red
best.
Dead Redemption is a slightly better, like as far as like a work of art, because like I said, Red Dead Redemption brought a tear to my eye. Like I was amazingly moved. I was like, I never expected a video game to do this to me.
Police corruption, all that stuff of it.
But GTA 5 is a love letter to like all the crime movies that I grew up loving. Like if you love like Miami Vice, if you like Chris or Michael Mann movies in general. Michael Mann is the one who did Miami Vice. He also did one of the best crime movies ever made called Heat. The Heat is a fictional movie that is loosely based off of a story that Michael Mann also did way back when. It's hard. I've never even seen it because I can't find it. Called L.A. Crime Story, which was based on a true story of these bank robbers that robbed this bank in L.A. and they were wearing like bulletproof suits and literally just like walked out of the bank and like cops are just like on the streets like just shooting at them, couldn't hurt them, and they had machine guns and were gunning people down. It's a true thing if you ever want to look it up. Anyways, Heat is an amazing. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. GTA 5 is like a love letter to that movie and other crime sagas of that era. And so, if you are like me, you'll really get into it. And I'm like that. I don't do the whole like I'm gonna go get with hookers. I tend to play sort of like the noble criminal. I did that with Red Dead Redemption 2. Even though I'm playing an outlaw, I played my character kind of more like Enfield here, where I had like a code. I wasn't out to just murder. I might be an outlaw, but I still have like a sense of morality. So I'm not telling you to necessarily, if you still aren't interested, don't necessarily, but it's a really good game. All right. That's my final thoughts on that. This is 5-star comic. This is Comics are rarely this good. So,
Like I said, is like I believe it was my number one.
was it your number one?
Pretty sure it was because, man, it's like I said, it has the art style. I admit the first issue, like didn't really like it, but then as I started going, the story, it just like it's just fit all into place. It's perfect. And I can't think of another Western comic that I've read that I like more than this. You know, it's sad they won't get more firepower, but I'll take this. This is a good replacement.
Hey, Firepower's not over yet. Let's not mourn it till it's dead.
That's true. Yeah.
It's already dead. You just don't know it.
Hush you. Man, some people just have no sensitivity. What about you, Zach? What's your final?
My final thought on this: I am glad that I read. Look, we know my feelings on miniseries. I'm not gonna beat that horse again, but this is one that I don't want to wait for the trade to come out to finish reading, which I think is the mark of a good miniseries. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next issue. Also makes me want to go watch some Bonanza reruns.
Bonanza.
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh my
dun.
goodness. What you
Love
should
that
do
show.
is if you can find some Bonanza soundtrack, read read this comic with Bonanza music playing in the background. um, I have the Red Dead
Forgot
Redemption soundtrack. I should actually be playing that while I read this. That'd be a
some
good soundtrack for this.
some Clint Eastwood or some John Wayne movie or something in the background.
No, just the music, not the movie. I get distracted.
Wow, 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 wow,
Yeah,
wow.
I guess you're right. Yeah, it would be distracting.
Uh, all right.
You would be
So
playing. I'd be playing. If I'm reading a western, I'm playing the Young Guns 2 soundtrack.
I've not seen Young Guns or Young Guns
you
2,
never seen Young
actually.
Guns?
No,
Either one of them. Wow.
I saw
Wow.
Tombstone.
Wait a
Love
second. Wait.
Tombstone.
Time out. Time out. You claimed
What?
earlier, Zach, that you were a big fan of westerns. Your
I
mom
am.
and you never
Okay,
seen Young Guns.
my
Great.
mom didn't have us watch like not modern because we're in 2020, but I mean Young Guns was like what 1980s, early 90s maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, my mom. Yeah, my mom. No, we were watching like the classics, like John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. Like she didn't let us watch any of the like 80s or 90s
Oh my
westerns.
goodness. It's a Disney one too.
She was a purist. I know. Isn't that the one with like Charlie Sheen and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Emilio Estevez?
The Brat
yes.
Pack.
The Brat Pack. Yeah. No.
Well, I would
Yeah.
encourage
Didn't get around to
you.
watching it.
I think you would like Young Guns.
Oh, I'm sure I would.
I think I think
Exactly.
I think it has the elements that are up your alley combined with western to like overall have a good experience. It's not an authentic feeling western. It feels very much like Brat Pack movie, but in a western. But it all comes together really well. Um, the second one,
I'll add it to
not
the
so
list.
much, but you'll know whether or not you want to see it after. Um, but
Well, the second one is kind of like this, where the outlaws days are coming to the end. That's what the second one is. The first one is kind
yeah,
of like getting into the outlaws.
yeah, and it's a very romanticized version of the West. It's very much
Who knows? Maybe
Disney-fied.
that is a correct story. We don't know. Maybe they weren't villains. Government's always been corrupt. Maybe.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
decide.
I very much like Young Guns. Like I said, it's not
Kiefer
authentic.
Sutherland is Doc Holliday.
Oh, that's
Or
right.
Kiefer
Val
Sutherland, sorry.
Val Kilmer is the only Doc Holliday. I'm sorry. Kiefer
Well,
Sutherland might be
they don't
great,
they don't
but
call him
Val
Holiday.
Kilmer
They don't call him Holiday, but they do call him Doc. So I always assumed he was Doc Holiday. So he
Val
might.
Kilmer's best role is Tombstone. Doc Holliday. That's his best role ever.
That was a good role. It's hard to argue that one. So I'll let you have it.
Sorry, Iceman.
I liked him as Mad Madigan and Iceman.
No, sorry, Iceman.
Oh, Mad
That's what
Mardigan.
I-
Mad Mardigan
Yeah.
is. I mean, Iceman
He's
was
also playing
fine.
Jim
It just
Morrison. Yeah.
Iceman wasn't a role that it wasn't ever meant to stand out. Iceman is just a rival. Like he's not meant to be a main feature character. So I can't fault him for saying. But Mad Mardigan, dude,
Yeah.
Mad Mardigan. I mean, he came close to channeling the same charisma that Harrison Ford brought to Star Wars. Mad Mardigan, like Val Kilmer brought to Willow. Oh.
He also had the character in Heat as well.
Oh yeah.
Wizzo.
Oh, you haven't seen Heat, I bet.
No.
You'll probably
Yeah, that's a
still
Michael
like
Mann.
Doc Holliday better, but
So
Heat.
Heat is a Michael Mann film, isn't
Yep.
it?
Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Yeah.
I have to give it. I watched when I was younger, and I couldn't get into it. I was like, it was just too slow.
Yeah, it is
So
a
I'll have
slow
to watch
burn.
it again.
It's a slow
I'll
burn.
have to try. Now that I'm watching Miami Vice, which is Michael Mann, I'm gonna take it, give it another shot.
Yeah.
Because yeah. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's the thing about Val Kilmer. He was only around for so many roles, and then like he went to divorce when he was filming the Island of Dr. Moreau, and then he kind of fell out of the limelight, and then he got into getting throat cancer.
Yeah.
Well,
he got like real overweight for a while too, before.
Yeah, he did.
Apparently also he had a really like bad reputation with directors. Like I heard like a lot of directors hated working with him for whatever reason, and so he kind of got on a blacklist. So
but his first, yeah.
I was gonna say he kind of got out of acting for a while.
I liked him in The Saint though.
He's fine. He's fine in The Saint.
He's also in The Ghost in the Darkness.
He was also in the finale of Psych.
Yeah, no one watched Psych.
It's a shame. It's a really good show.
It's a
At
damn
First Sight,
shame.
where he plays the At First Sight, that's remember him, yeah, in that. Where he plays the blind guy, gets his sight back, only to lose it again. That sucks.
So for those of you who are curious, this is That Texas Blood. This is the first issue, and I think there's like 25 issues. This is a modern Western, if you will.
Look, it's the Ranger.
He's still alive. No, it's
his great grandson.
This could be equated to like a Western, but told in today's times.
Would you call it maybe similar to like Yellowstone, maybe?
Maybe I haven't seen Yellowstone, but from what I know of it, maybe.
It comes across as very much a Western, but modernized.
So this is the same creative team, Chris Conning, you know. This I just wanted to show it off though, so you can see how far Jacob Phillips as an artist has grown. So in the very first issue of That Texas Blood, this is the art, and while it's not bad, it's definitely more raw. It's definitely not quite as refined. And this is actually one of the first things I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to get this book. But I'm not here to necessarily say like, oh, look how bad the art is, but more of like, just over the short time of a couple years of doing this book, how much he's grown as an artist. It's really phenomenal to me. So this might be a book that you enjoy checking out. Our boy Skip was a big fan of this book as well, and this is kind of more of it's like a Western, but also kind of like a drama.
I believe Eric Breen and Englentine were both reading that, and they both kind of just fell off.
Yeah, in fact, I bought Englantine's collection. You sold on auction.
You bought his whole. It was almost the whole run, wasn't it?
Yep, it was the first 18 issues.
That's funny.
I remember that.
So, anyways, I just wanted to show that off, just because, hey, maybe people are interested. I recommend checking it out if you like indie comics. I mean, if if you're like screw Tales in Texas or whatever, I guess then screw it. But you never know. It is now getting towards the witching hour, which is where we shut this thing down. Do you guys have any final things that you want to mention?
If you want to see more in Zach, us, and watch our zany bickering duo, we're on tomorrow, or I guess would be today, later today, tonight.
We should come up with an opening that has like the Odd Couple theme song. Can these two comic book readers endure a stream without driving each other crazy?
One thinks Michelle Pfeiffer's hot. One thinks Michelle Pfeiffer's hot. The other one thinks she's not. Will they
The other one
survive?
likes Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Rhaegar wanted me to ask if you've seen True Grit and Shane.
Yes, to both. Oh well, wait. Which True Grit? Does he mean the
John
original
Wayne.
one with John Wayne, or the remake, which is much more faithful to the book?
I'm assuming he means
Because
the
they're
original,
both.
since you talked about the classics, and since
Yeah,
Shane is
yeah. I've
also
seen
John Wayne.
Yeah. No, John Wayne was not in Shane, actually.
I thought it was.
No, he was not in Shane. I remember watching Shane and being really disappointed that there was nobody I knew in it. Shane was all right. I got kind of bored with Shane, to be honest. Of course, I was also in high school when I saw it. Maybe if I looked at it now, I'd get more out of it. But no, True Grit. I love True Grit. I thought that was a really great movie. That's probably
Which one did you
of-
like better, the original or the new one?
I like them both. Really difficult for me. I
haven't
kinda
seen.
like
I've never seen the original, but I really love the new one.
the
Really,
new one
really
was
good.
really, really good. The new one by the Coen brothers
Yeah.
was really, really good. Josh Brolin, forget Thanos. I think he did way better as Rooster Cogburn.
Your Josh Brolin is just awesome all the time.
That's
Like,
true. He is, and even as Thanos was good. But like, there are
I feel
so
like
many
I feel
other
like his
good
career
roles that he
came out of
did.
nowhere, even though he's been around for a long time.
Mhm.
I think like the MCU kind of put him in the spotlight, and I'm like, wait, he's like all over the place, and
Yeah,
everywhere
he's
I
always
see him, I'm
yeah.
like, he's just great. Um,
Yep.
there's this movie that I saw. I keep touting this director, Joseph Kosinski. He's the one that did the Maverick movie, Top Gun Maverick. But he also did
Oh, okay, that
He
Maverick.
also
Okay.
did Oblivion, the Tron sequel.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of this guy's work, and I'm like, oh, this guy's an up and comer. He, by the way, has the rights to that movie for the trade paperback that RDV likes, Chariot by Brian Edward Hill. And I'm really hoping, I'm like, dude, if anyone makes this into a movie, Joseph Kosinski, who did Tron, like, anyways. But he did a movie called, what is it? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. It's a firefighter movie.
The Ladder 49.
No, it's about like wilderness.
Backdraft.
No, it's a wilderness forest fire.
Angelina Jolie in it.
No, come on.
Oh, that was
It was
that was
Wilderness Fire. Was it recent, like fairly recent, like within the last
called Only the Brave in
5,
2017, and it has
2017?
James
Okay.
Brolin as like the main character or main actor.
Okay.
and so like I was like, okay, well I want to see all this guy's movies. I love Oblivion, I love Tron, love Top Gun Maverick. I was like, what else has he done? Oh, he did a movie before, well actually after Oblivion, called Only the Brave, and it was just whatever. It's about these fire, but it's a true story apparently. It's based on a real event that happened and everything, and it's astounding. Like it's good. I'm like, oh, of course, even a movie that I didn't care about be these firefighters, but James Brolin's in it and he's freaking awesome.
what's it called?
Only the Brave.
Yeah, I think
I'm good.
over
I'm
here,
good. There's that.
'cause I think that came out at about the same time. There was some huge California forest fire, I think, going on at the time.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm not seeing on his list. Only the Brave. James Brolin.
Josh Brolin. Try Josh. I
Josh
think James
Brolin.
is his father.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm saying James, but I mean Josh.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
because his father is also an actor.
Everything you've
He's
heard
still
me
acting
say,
too.
James, and Rhaegar's commenting on chat, he corrected me. My mouth was
Right.
saying, but everything translated all was Josh Brolin.
I was gonna say because James is still acting.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
Josh not acting anymore?
No, they both are. I'm just
No,
saying
no.
it.
Okay.
I was,
Yeah.
but when I was saying James, I was not remembering that there were two different. Like my head was
Gotcha.
picturing Josh Brolin the whole time. Everything I was saying was meant to be Josh Brolin. But he's in that movie, and yeah, it's just, he's like one of the few actors, and I'm like this where I don't care about actors in movies. People are like, oh, this got this person in it, and I'm like,
Ooh, wait.
I'm
hey,
like, who
Zach.
cares? But there's a few where they like command that I'm drawn to their movies. Kurt Russell used to be one of those where I was like, oh, Kurt Russell's in it, I want to see it.
Oh,
Zach,
I'm still
Zach,
like that with Kurt Russell.
Zach,
What was that? What?
There's incentives for this movie. Jennifer Connelly's in this.
Yep.
Eh,
Yep.
See,
she's
wow,
okay. She's
you're
okay.
gone. You're gone.
She's okay. I mean, she's hotter than Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh my
She's hotter than
goodness.
Anne Hathaway.
Currently or
When she
of
was
all
younger,
time?
when she was younger, definitely.
Yeah,
Still
Jennifer
currently.
Connelly in
Was
her
it, what was
prime
it?
was,
Clerks?
oh my goodness.
Was it Clerks? Maybe. Was that the one that she was in?
Clerks?
What?
No, she was in The
What the
Rocketeer,
Oh, she was in the right. That's who am I thinking of in Clerks? I'm thinking of somebody else.
and she was also in Labyrinth. That was like,
Rosario
Labyrinth. Yeah, she was
Rosario
young
Dawson.
in Labyrinth.
Rosario Dawson was in Clerks too.
yeah.
I never
Yes.
saw Rosario Dawson's okay. She's not young Jennifer Connelly.
Everyone's okay unless it's Anne Hathaway, and he just
No.
switched to her.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway's a cutie.
She is a cutie.
I don't think I could be in the same room with her for 10 minutes listening to her talk, but
I'd be in jail.
she's cutie. I mean, you know. But yeah, no, Jennifer Connelly. But look, I mean, Jennifer Connelly's aged pretty well. So,
Yeah.
wow.
She's married to Paul Bettany, I think, the guy who plays Vision.
Oh,
So
wow.
is Michelle Pfeiffer's age well too.
Not
Yeah,
even.
she's
Sorry.
aged extremely well. Dude, if when you're in your 60s, and how old is Michelle Pfeiffer? Like 60?
She's in her 60s.
She's getting close to 70. When your wife is that old and she looks like a Michelle Pfeiffer, come on.
Michelle Pfeiffer just doesn't do. She's just not my cup of tea.
Oh, that's fine. I mean,
She's like pistachio ice cream. Just doesn't appeal to me.
She's 65 and she's the grandma that I would go out with. Hey,
Somebody's grandma. You just made it weird.
well, Anne Hathaway is somebody's daughter.
Well, yeah. Everybody is somebody's daughter or son. Not everybody is somebody's grandma, though.
Well, wait till you get older and she gets older.
Rhaegar says Rosario Dawson, who is totally not in a real relationship with Cory Booker, who is probably straight as Lindsey Graham. Oh, jeez.
I remember that.
Oh,
I
man.
always forget
I
that
used to.
Are they still together? I'm like, I keep waiting
I have no
to
idea.
hear that she breaks up with him. And I'm like,
I used to have a little bit of a crush on Rosario Dawson.
Well, in Clerks 2, she was actually no High Fidelity. Wasn't she her? No, it was her. Wait, she was in Clerks 2, but she. Okay, I'm thinking of the other girl, the one who originally played Catwoman recently. Was in
Halle Berry
What?
or Zoe? No, Zoe Kravitz.
Yes. I said recently played Catwoman.
I heard Catwoman.
You said recently Catwoman. He goes back 20 years.
I know. It's like.
Rhaegar says, yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like Rosario Dawson, she's aging fine too. So
she's 44. Has one child and not married.
She looks good with the orange face paint.
She looks better without the face paint. She looks better natural.
Well, everybody.
I would hope that most people look better not orange.
Yeah.
He's like, she looks good with the orange face paint. I'm like, nah, I don't want the orange face. You're hindering it.
It's also pretty subtle. They don't do the major like orange. I've seen some of I haven't watched the show yet, but I see some of the screenshots, and I'm like, she looks like
I
the black
saw a trailer, and it looks like Hayden Christensen's back in Star Wars. I don't know what that's about.
Spoil it for him.
No, I don't know what show it is. I saw something about Hayden Christensen coming back to some Star Wars thing. I don't know what it's for, but the guy is getting a more acting role in Star Wars projects.
I think he's in the new show, the Ahsoka show, or at
Maybe,
least a
I don't know.
digital enhanced.
Yeah, that's
The
what I
what
saw. Some digital.
what I saw looked very like computer graphic, like Uncanny Valley. So
Yeah, because you look at him now, he looks like Steve Buscemi.
Rhaegar says, "You mean not like Titans Starfire Orange? You mean if you're talking about the Titans TV show,
She was
straight up
not
black
orange.
woman. There's no orange.
They didn't
she
even
looks
try. They didn't even try.
she looks like streetwalker hooker.
No, yeah. They did improve the costume though for the later seasons. She got rid of the hooker outfit.
It'd be kind of hard not to go any direction but up from that.
Yeah,
Well, in your hooker, it's hard to go up.
you're a hooker. I thought the only thing you knew how to do was go down.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I can make jokes.
Yes.
yes.
It's
I'm
time to
so-
go, kids.
Yeah. As soon as Zach starts getting funny, it's time to go. Yeah, I agree.
Hey, if you want to be funny from the beginning, I don't think we're gonna complain.
Yeah, Zach's like always me.
Oh no, RDV found the soundboard.
I forgot that thing existed.
Now you
All
know
right,
it's time
let's
to
get
go.
this party started.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I could have lived the rest of my life without hearing that again.
You know, whenever I hear that, I think of the Progressive commercial with the guy in the contract box?
That's why I don't have progressive.
I think it's Progressive. He's going around and he's like, yeah, a big deal going around. And he's just like, call me, I call you. Go look it up. It's hilarious. But anyway, I honestly do hope that that we get more books like this. Actually, Batman wasn't the strongest one. I think the better out of the books. We could all agree. The Gangfield Massacre, or say Enfield Gang Massacre is better. That is the best book of the two we reviewed tonight.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Absolutely.
Although I want the German edition now, the Enfield.
Enfield.
What are we reading next week?
That's a good question. I actually have a giant pull list next week.
I have a very small pull list. Here it is on this. Oh, I haven't transitioned it yet. Here's my pull list.
Well, I hope you're not transitioning.
Well, I'm in California. It's only a matter of time.
I would say for me, just big game is in Captain America.
Big game is a must. All right, let's say. I mean, right away, big game is a must.
Wait, big game's out.
Big game number 3.
What is up, man? League of Comic Geeks is constantly.
I see it on mine.
It's constantly dropping books that I subscribe to.
Oh, I've had that issue before. Well, are you subscribing when you hit pull? Are you pulling individual issues, or are you going to the series page and hitting pull series? Because I've had to do that.
I just go individual and I click it and I'm fine.
What I do is I pull it up like this and I click pull.
No.
So that's what at least I should be doing. So apparently something I don't know. I'm glad you mentioned it because that should be on my list, and that is my number 1. So we're getting that for sure. So that'll be a book we're covering.
100%. I'm getting there's the new Captain America by Straczynski. There's a new World's Finest, Superman number 6, Ram V's The Vigil number 5. I've been digging that.
Hey, there's a Captain America number 1.
Yeah, Straczynski.
Are you going to be getting it there, RDV?
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Let's do Captain America number 1 since it's the number 1 issue.
Okay.
Since you guys are both getting it.
It's the first time Straczynski's come back to an ongoing series in Marvel.
Well, you say it's ongoing. They could cancel it after.
It's ongoing for 12 issues.
It's ongoing for at least 12 issues, yeah.
If they're smart, they'll make it 50 at least.
So I'm curious to see, can Straczynski bring the magic to Captain America, who has been languishing in Marvel for like a decade? When was the last time Captain America was good at Marvel?
The last Straczynski book I read was Siege.
I like the Colin Jackson and or Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. It wasn't as good as Brubaker, but it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you like seeing Captain America sitting in an art class
And as I
talking
pointed
to
out,
social justice warriors.
as I also pointed out, Uncanny Spider-Man is going to be out with, yes, Miles Morales Nightcrawler.
Yeah, that sounds
Wait, which
terrible. We're talking about
Nightcrawler?
good. We're talking about good
Yeah, I
comics.
thought we were talking about good stuff. What are you
Well,
talking
yeah,
about?
I'm talking about Sour Capes, bro.
I think that RDV didn't go chase a skunk. I thought he smoked a thing of Mary Jane. And that's why he's
You
talking
know, I
weird.
went outside to see if he's going to kill the chicken or not. I've never seen a skunk kill a chicken before, so it's like,
And I just got to say, you're launching a brand new Captain America book. You got a big name like Straczynski on the title,
it's the Meg will flop.
and this is your cover. Come on, Marvel. Like, is there just anyone at Marvel that knows what the hell they're doing?
Well, if you don't like it,
I kind of liked it.
You think this?
I would rather. Yeah, look at the Ramos. I'd love to.
I
I
liked
mean,
it because it takes them back to like pre Super Soldier Serum, like when all he had was just like that can-do attitude and heart. I don't know.
I'm not
I
saying
liked
the
it.
subject matter of the cover is bad. I'm saying overall, this is
Well-
just a bland, ugly cover.
yeah. So the reason the cover is that, if you read the description, it's gonna be like I think it's gonna be like Thor the God Butcher, past, present.
Oh, it's gonna have like flashbacks.
I don't dislike
Yeah.
the cover because it shows Steve Rogers as a kid. That's not why. It's just ugly. The composition of this, it's all brown.
It's
It's
Steve
not
Rogers
necessarily
before
the greatest art.
You know, sure,
Meanwhile,
it's not-
you've got Alex Ross drawing a cover to something else somewhere, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, this
yeah,
is
it's an insult to the writer in the book. Yes, I
just
understand that.
put your best foot forward, man. Come on.
But the cover artist is the actual, believe the artist, interior artist. So you're getting a preview what it looks like.
All right, and let's look. They got half a dozen or more variant covers. So
Of course they do.
how many of them are better? Oh, it's a Frank Miller cover.
Well-
Yeah.
And there's also a Kari Andrews, I believe, cover.
Eh.
Foil variant. Gary Frank.
Gary Frank's not bad.
There's a Copier cover. Everyone loves this guy.
Perez variant, which is pulled out of the, thing.
Oh,
Humberto
come on. There's a
Ramos.
Kari Andrews. Look at this car. Oh, come on. Look at. Dude,
Right?
come on. Look at. Yeah. Just give
It's a
Kari
foil
Andrews.
variant.
Give Kari Andrews a Captain America book.
It's great until you click on it and make it bigger, and then it's like, oof. We complain about
Even this, man. This is.
We complain about Liefeld. Then I see how Kari Andrews' arm is. It's like, yeah, it's Liefeld.
Even this is
Well,
like. I like this.
Yeah, that's right. I want
That's
Gary.
good.
Why
like
isn't
that one.
Gary Frank doing the interior art? That'd be awesome.
People can't afford Gary Frank.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But this. Oh yeah, this is a good cover. I like this. Kind of
That's
embodies.
not bad.
Well, the natural spirit. Steve would help out if he's come across, film man. He'd help him out, and that's really Steve Rogers thing to do. That's what I like about that. But yeah, the Rob Liefeld one. People are comparing it. It's like, oh man, Rob Liefeld just did the same thing for the car. I'm like, actually, it's improved.
It is improved.
Chassis.
It's still bad.
And they're like, why
But-
does he have the V and the A in there? It's fought American.
Right?
Looks like Star Trek.
I just
with a
hate
V
Sam
over it,
Wilson, Captain America. Just go away.
right?
Um,
Michael Cho is really cool.
Michael Cho, yeah, Michael Cho does good, I think.
Michael
does a
Cho
good
has
job.
has the old school Avengers on there. I love it.
Oh yeah, this has got
That's-
an old classic feel. I like this.
Can Michael Cho just draw an old school Avengers book for me?
Yeah, this would be cool. I would totally love an Avengers old school classic drawn like this. That'd be amazing.
It has like the updated Avengers title cover, like you see like out of their cartoons. Beyond Earth's Mightiest says. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm hopeful to see that Straczynski can do something good with this. Captain America has been languishing far too long.
Yep.
His cover.
Hey, was that the guy who was just on Thinking Critical live stream from Saturday?
Who guy?
Who what?
I'm reading Rager's comments where he doesn't explain what he's talking about.
Hey, who was that guy that he doesn't know? If he knew who the guy was, he couldn't. He would be able to
no,
say.
he's talking about Carrie Andrews because Wes
Carrie
did a stream or something with Carrie Andrews.
Okay, then say that. Just like I go back and read his comments, and like we're already like 4 things ahead. It's like, what does he talk about?
Read his comments as he's commenting.
Yeah, pay attention to Rhaegar instead of ignoring him.
Fine.
All you do is ask him for beer. You could at least pay attention to him.
I've never asked a miner for beer. What are you talking about? That is you are on. That's how far you are away from the readings, bro. You have no idea what's going on.
How far things have changed? The lore has shifted.
I like
And,
I like Carrie Andrews a lot, and that Amazing Fantasy is the best Captain America I've read since Brubaker wrote him. So,
and
I just want to
here.
I don't think it Trump Brubaker, but okay.
Excuse me, guys. It's tradition. How's the old little Rhaegar?
It's not tradition on this channel. They don't need to make it.
That's true. That's tradition on our channel.
It's a tradition that me and Rhaegar have where we are. I say hello.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it's also tradition to wrap this show up eventually, and eventually has come. So,
yep.
We're out of here.
You should always wrap up before you come.
Oh, boo. Good Lord.
All right. I don't even know what to say after that, so we're just gonna go.
There's nothing to say. Speechless.
Good night.
He said, "Wrap it up," and the time has come. He said.
I'm sorry, everyone. Good night.